San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? Happy Monday to everybody out there. Today might be let's try to not have everybody jump off the bandwagon to the San Diego Padres day. Oh, my God. This weekend, I tell you, there's just like nonstop panic for a team that's 17-10 on the season. Now, I'm not going to say that everything's sunshine and rainbows right now because it's not. And the way that the Padres have played in the last couple of games has been awful. It's not been very good. And that's collectively from everybody on the team once you started to see some injuries from Jackson Merrill and Luis Arraez. They got swept this weekend at home, had really no offensive production whatsoever, had no real offensive production in Detroit or relatively in Houston, especially after Arraez went down. But if you look at the team and you look at the San Diego Padres and the current roster that they have, let's say this right now. If you ran that roster out there that you had all weekend, you ran that roster out there the whole weekend for 162 games, how many wins does that team get? How many wins does that team get? They'd probably get 75 wins, max. You're starting to see, and I thought this was a great opportunity for this to happen for the Padres because it's early in the season. Today is April 28th. You would think it's August 28th, the way people are freaking out. But it's April 28th. And you look at this team and the way it is right now, this is a great way to figure out who you got, who can play every day, and who can't. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of players in this team that can't play every day. I think the Gavin Sheets experiment of playing every day is over. He's a platoon guy. He's a role guy. His offensive numbers since being pressed into playing every single day have not been very good. In fact, since Luis Arraez got hurt, in which Gavin Sheets had to play every day, Gavin Sheets is hitting ..48 with 3 singles, no doubles, no triples, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, a run scored, and 10 strikeouts, which leads the team last week. He's playing too much. Sometimes guys are just not everyday players. And so, okay, I think that experiment is over. He's not that great at first base either. He's more of a DH guy. Still love Gavin Sheets in the lineup. I think he's great against right-handed pitching. But he's going to have to be a role player. You look at guys like Oscar Gonzalez. I think Oscar Gonzalez can probably play almost every day for a team. He's done the second best since Luis Arraez got hurt. He's only played in 6 games. Second best since Luis Arraez got hurt, hitting .238. That's the second best average on the Padres since Luis Arraez got hurt. Everybody else is hitting worse. But I think you have some help with Oscar Gonzalez. I think Tyler Wade has proven that he can play. I thought his first at-bat was terrible. His first night of at-bats was terrible. And after that, he's been very serviceable. So you're starting to see what guys can play, what guys can't play as you assemble your bench for when Arraez comes back and Merrill comes back and Lockridge comes back and Hayward comes back and Jake Cronenworth comes back. Other players. The catching situation has not been great. The Padres said going into the year it's a defensive position. They also said at the beginning of the year they can stomach Martin Maldonado hitting 200. So if he hits around 200, they're going to be satisfied with that. They view that as a catching first position. I think that's a big reason why Luis Campusano's not up with the big league club right now, is because, again, they think about it as a secondary position. It's a defensive first position. But your catching situation is not great. That's kind of a holdup right now. Again, if Campusano's not one of the greatest defensive catchers, and they view it as a defensive position, they ain't calling up Luis Campusano. I don't mind them. I don't know why they haven't called him up at least to get a DH in there. I mean, Campy could go out there and swing at least. Go out there and swing at least. I mean, I've seen probably enough of Tirso Ornelas at this point. You got to give him more than 15 at plate appearances, but his at-bats have not been very good since getting called up. He's batting .077, not very productive. I would imagine when they decide to make some moves and guys are coming back, he might get sent back down to AAA El Paso, and I wouldn't be surprised if Yuli Gurriel on this next wave of guys getting reactivated probably gets shipped off elsewhere. So those are some of the players that are role players. In terms of the stars, okay, or guys that are paid to be stars, Fernando Tatis Jr. is a star. He's the only one really playing anything worth a damn right now. Had been batting .333. He's got a home run, a triple, 2 doubles, 5 home runs. I mean, this are five singles. Sorry, this is all since Luis Arraez got hurt, and since Jackson Merrill got hurt. Looking at the entire year, he's batting still .333 with 12 singles, 7 home runs, 15 runs scored, 12 RBIs. He's doing his job. Manny and Xander ain't getting it done. They're not. Manny's hitting .246 since Merrill got hurt, and as soon as Arraez got hurt, Manny's in his preseason slump. He's hitting .167. 167. He's got to step it up. Xander Bogaerts needs to step it up. He's hitting .208 since Arraez got hurt. That's the 4th best on the team, by the way, which should tell you everything you need to know about the roster you currently have. Since Luis Arraez got hurt, these last 7 days, or really last 7 games, your best batting averages are Fernando in .333, Oscar Gonzalez hitting .238, Tyler Wade hitting .222, and Xander Bogaerts hitting .208. That's abysmal. That's abysmal. You look at the advanced numbers, what they call advanced numbers. On base percentage, Wade at least is getting on base. .391 leads the team. Fernando .379, Jose Iglesias .304, Xander Bogaerts .296 since Luis Arraez has been injured. Now we're going to talk more about Xander Bogaerts later, and I've talked to some people that know the inner workings behind the scenes about what they see in Xander. And here's the thing: there's head scratching on why he's not putting up the numbers that he's putting up, because his bat speed and his exit velo are still in positions that they are totally fine with and are expecting from a guy like Xander Bogaerts. Over the weekend, I thought he was not very good. The defensive situation with Iglesias, shortstop takes over in infield situations like that. He didn't call it. Iglesias didn't call it. They look like they just had no idea what was going on. Offensively for Xander Bogaerts, if you want to chime in and complain that he is not very good at runners in scoring position or in high leverage, I'll take that phone call, because he's not. And statistically, since being a Padre, he's never been good at that. And you know who else has never been good at that? Manny Machado. Manny Machado has a 150 average in high leverage situations with runners in scoring position in a Padres uniform. Does anybody believe that? Can you believe that? 150. 150 for Manny Machado in high leverage situations. That's amazing. But again, people are out for blood. They want Xander Bogaerts gone. So I have 4 options for you in terms of replacing, or 4 options you can have in terms of what are you going to do with shortstop? Because you can't make emotional decisions because things aren't working out right now. Again, I think things would be a little bit different if the Padres were at full strength and everybody was tanking like they're doing right now. We talked about it last week. I thought we had a good conversation about this. Look, it's going to be rough until they start getting some players back, because with every core player you take out of that roster means more pressure on Fernando, Xander, and Manny to take over, and 2 of those guys haven't done anything. Here's the thing that always gets me on the whole Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts thing. Manny will always bounce back. Well, Xander did that 3 times in his career. Does anybody want to tell me, and I'll have his advanced numbers, anybody want to tell me what Xander Bogaerts did last season when he came back from injury? Go ahead and guess. Guess what he did. Guess what he did. For anybody in the chat, what did Xander Bogaerts do returning from injury in 2024? What do you think his batting average was? I have that for you. I could tell you exactly what he did. If you had to make a guess, Frank, who joins us today, what Xander Bogaerts did after coming back from injury last year, what would you say he did?
As far as like actual numbers?
Yeah, actual numbers.
245, 4 homers, 20 RBIs.
After injury last year to end 2024, he hit 299 with 30 RBIs, 26 runs scored, 7 home runs, 9 doubles. He had an on-base percentage of 338, an OPS of 770. His BABIP was 325, and his weighted runs created plus was 117. In a year that he was awful, right? Because everybody said last year was awful.
I was close.
All of those numbers, if you average them for a 162-game season, are on par with what he does and has done in his career. His first year with the Padres, all of his numbers were on par to what he has done in his career. At the beginning of the season, he got off to a decent start. Right now, he's in a little bit of a slump. So based on his track record and based on everything that he has done in the past, and this small sample size of basically a month with most of the team in a slump, we are now going to be like, this is what the guy is, not exactly everything that was laid out in front of him. Now, here's the case. I do agree. He is an aging veteran. He is never going to be the player that he was in 2019, where he was a all-star and one of the best players in the Red Sox. He's never going to be that. And I've never said he's going to be that. I've also never said he's got to live up to $25 million a year. Signing 30-year-olds might be one of the dumbest decisions that organizations do, but they have to do it. They have to do it. If you look at the grand scheme of things in baseball, and you look at all the other shortstops, as of right now, if you had to guess, Frank, I'm going to have you guess. If you had to guess where Xander Bogaerts ranks in terms of highest paid shortstops in Major League Baseball, 1 through 30, where is he at?
Probably say about 7 or 8.
Yeah, he's 9. 9th best. Now, to me, and he's not playing at that level right now, for him getting the ninth highest paid shortstop in Major League Baseball, he's also the oldest shortstop in Major League Baseball. He's also will not be a shortstop in the next 2 years on the Padres because they got this guy named Leo DeVries coming up that will probably end that situation for the Padres in general. But as long as he competes close to a top 10 shortstop, you're getting exactly what you're paying for, which is we got to spend X amount of dollars because this is how much it goes to get a top 10 shortstop in Major League Baseball. Right now, he's about 15th. He's in the middle of the pack. He's playing under his numbers at this point in the season. I would agree with that. He's playing under his numbers. And again, as long as you have this is what I think by the time August rolls around, Xander Bogaerts should have, by the end of the season, he should have if he has a 3 WAR at the end of the season, you're getting basically what you paid for in an aging shortstop. If he hits anything within 270 to 290, you're winning. If he gets at 30 doubles or anything close to 30 doubles, you're winning. If he gets 15 home runs, you're winning. If his on-base percentage is higher than 330, you're winning. If at the end of the season he's lower than that by a lot, then you're going to have to think about, okay, we got to figure out this situation. Because that's where he's all of a sudden hurting your team more than he's helping your team. But you look at the options, there's not a lot of options out there. I mean, you can say what you want, but there's not a lot of options out there. I got a couple of options for you that we'll talk about later in the show. I do want to get the phones going. I know everybody wants to jettison this guy to a different planet. Didn't play very well this weekend. I agree with that. But the reality is, he is what he is. And I've said that from the top. I have continued to say this is the player that you paid for. If you thought he was going to be better because he's getting $25 million, I will show you Carlos Correa. Good thing you don't have Carlos Correa. Again, they wanted to make a big splash during whatever offseason that was. Aaron Judge was never going to be a Padre. He was always going to be a Yankee no matter how much money you offered him. Trey Turner said no. Your next best option that year was actually Xander Bogaerts, and it's proving to still be Xander Bogaerts. Because Dansby Swanson's not that great, and neither is Carlos Correa, and they're making more money than Xander is. So you were going to sign one of these guys. If you look at it from a perspective of understanding how roster construction works, you were going to get, this is the guy that you out of all the options you had, this is the best option that you had at the time. He is what he is. They got a lot of other problems besides Xander Bogaerts. If you took Xander out of the lineup on Friday night, did the Padres win? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll be back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:20 on a Monday morning. There's blood in the water. And the Padres fans are circling. One sweep at home, man. It's got everybody acting crazy about the San Diego Padres. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I really don't like Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that great of a person. So I don't like to use like things that he says, but I almost want to quote the relax. Just kind of relax a bit. Wait for some of these players to start coming back. It's a drastic difference. I thought we told Elvis to shut up. Anyway, it's a drastic difference. When you have, again, if you look at any team, I saw it. Clubhouses are always going to be like, it's no excuse we have injuries. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just pointing out. The roster you currently have is not a playoff roster. The team you're rolling out there is not a playoff team. They're not. It's the El Paso Chihuahuas, and it's Fernando and Manny and Bogarts. And when those guys, when you have to go up there to hit, and your approach at the plate is, I got to get this thing done, mentally, you're not in a good spot. You're not in a good spot. When you try to go up there and hit, and you know you got to get a hit, your offense is not great. And I think you've seen that with the numbers that I laid out for the San Diego Padres since Luis Arraez and since Jackson Merrill. I mean, Jake Cronenworth is in the middle, so it's hard to, like, I'm not pulling those numbers. But since those two in particular got hurt, the numbers have cratered for the Padres because now all of a sudden, guys at the top of the lineup know that they have to get a hit. Otherwise, they're not scoring any runs. I thought you saw that all weekend. Once it got to the 8th or 9th inning, once the top guys in the order went down, you're like, this game's over. It's not going to get done with Tirso Ornelas and Oscar Gonzalez and Jose Iglesias and any of the catchers. I mean, it's just that's what's costing you right now. Manny's not playing well. Xander's not playing well. It's costing you. They're expected to, in situations like this, carry the team. Fernando's doing everything that he can. Tyler Wade has stepped up in the absence of some players. But what's costing you is the fact that you have guys like Oscar Gonzalez, Martin Maldonado, Jose Iglesias, Yuli Gurriel, Gavin Sheets, Mason. You got guys like that getting significant playing time. So hopefully this helps them in the long run, getting them some playing time early. I think it's a great opportunity to see what you have in the depth, which is not a lot, and try to piece together some of these players to stay on the bench for the later part of the season. Guys, it's April 28th. You got a long way to go. I mean, everybody was ready to pop champagne and have a World Series parade after the first 7 games of the season. Then half your core gets hurt, and it's like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. What do you mean? Look what you're watching. Look at the lineup they put out every day. How do you look at the lineup they put out every day and just be like, I can't believe what I'm watching. I can't believe this is happening. What are you talking about? I mean, look at the lineup they had yesterday. I had somebody DM. I had a lot of people DM me. They wanted to MF me for any type of positive reinforcement about Xander Bogaerts. That's your prerogative, sure. I think it takes an interesting individual to spend time to DM someone they don't know to MF them about their positive outlook on Xander Bogaerts, because, again, you can bitch and moan all you want. Guy's on your team. He ain't going anywhere. I have options for you if you want, but not a lot of them are that much better than just having to play shortstop until Leo DeVries shows up. But, hey, you look at their overall roster. Somebody was like, I can't believe they're batting Bogaerts cleanup right now. Well, dude, they got Manny, Xander, and Fernando, and the Chihuahuas out there. Who do you want batting cleanup? Who are they going to go with? Give me some answers. You got Gavin Sheets batting second. All right, cool. Then you have Manny batting third. Who bats fourth? Tirso Ornelas? You bat Tirso Ornelas fourth? You're batting Oscar Gonzalez fourth? You're batting Jose? Who are you batting fourth? Like, come on. Until they get back to full strength, you really can't complain too much about what they got. Yeah, they're not playing that great. You could complain about that. Manny and Xander not playing well. You could get on them for not playing well right now. They picked a bad time to not be good. But what you can't say is you can't get all upset about, like, I saw this over the weekend on one of the accounts. about how Mike Schultz got to just ream these guys in the club. For what? For what? Look at their lineup, guys. Look at their lineup. Arraez should be back before tomorrow. That's a nice little upgrade. You could take another hole out of the lineup. And then when you get Merrill back, and there's no timetable on that yet, I'm hoping it's next week for the Yankees. I'm hoping. I don't know anything. I'm trying to read between the lines and some of the reports. But he's expected to be back relatively soon. And Cronenworth mid-May, reevaluate when you start getting these players. You got to get some of these guys back. Nobody's picking up David Peralta, Jesus. Nobody's picking up David Peralta because if they wanted him, they would have picked him up. And the other thing, too, and I've seen it a lot, well, why don't you go get somebody else from AAA? Your best 5 players from AAA are already up. There's nobody else down there that's better than the 5 if you've already pulled up. It doesn't work like that. When this team is playing at its best in August, Xander will be batting 6th, maybe 7th in the order, and he'll be doing a fine job with everybody else that you paid good money to be in the lineup. Most of the guys in the lineup right now either on a minor league deal or being pulled up from the minor leagues. You have to understand the situation that's in hand. That's what you have. That's what you have. Again, if you want to put together, I got all the options out there. We're going to get to that later on about what you do at shortstop. But I think you need to have some perspective on what everybody else is doing at shortstop in Major League Baseball and just be like, he is what he is. Because again, everybody's like, it's just all on him. Okay. Not on the fact that everybody else is in a slump too. It's just his fault. I asked the question before. If Xander wasn't in the lineup on Friday, do the Padres win? If you say yes, give me a break. They scored 0 runs. They scored 0 runs. I know Xander's error, which was bad, although a normal first baseman probably picks that ball, led to the only run. But if he's out of the lineup, they don't make that error. If we want to play the what-if game, even if it's 0-0, you got to find a way to score. They haven't done that all weekend. Again, there's no panic. It should be relax. 2 weeks ago, we were ready to have a parade. Now, all of a sudden, you're missing 3 of your 6 core guys, and it's catastrophically bad. I would like to know how many contending teams can lose 3 of their core 6 players and expect to be firing on all cylinders. I know I saw it in the daily. Mike Schilt not making excuses, going hey, look, everybody else is banged up. I even saw the layout of who the Dodgers are missing and who the Mets are missing and who everybody else is missing. It's mostly pitching. You could survive having guys on the injured list for pitching throughout the year. Can't survive in the playoffs, but throughout the season, you can survive. You can use your bullpen a little bit more. There's ways around it. When you're missing 3 of your 6 core players in the lineup that produce, especially a lineup, like Wood said this morning, totally agree, especially a lineup that was top-heavy to begin with, you're going to lose a lot of production. And even the stars aren't going to be able to keep you afloat, especially with the added pressure that Manny and Xander and Fernando are now under to try to carry this team. And you can see in their at-bats. Their at-bats are way different now. They're not taking pitches. They're swinging out of their shoes. They're trying to hit 5-run, 6-run homers that don't happen. So from that perspective, yeah, you got to keep a level head. You can't get too emotional and make emotional decisions. Otherwise, it's going to bite you in the ass. And you see that a lot. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Mike in Claremont. Want to join the Braden Surprenant show. Mike, what's going on? You ready to hit the panic button, or are you staying calm today on a Monday?
Oh, hell no, Braden. No panic here. Hey, excuse me. I'm recuperating. Okay, let's see if I can talk without my throat, Bill. You hit it on the head. But they're swinging out of their shoes, but at bad pitches. And they're letting good pitches go right down the middle. Would you agree to that?
Well, they're pressing now. And when you have the pressure, that they have, and the top three in the order have that pressure. And I appreciate the phone call, Mike. We're going to have to clear up your voice a little bit before we get you back on next time. But when you have that added pressure, it makes it more difficult to hit because you're thinking now at the plate instead of going out there and doing your thing. Anybody that plays golf understands when you're thinking about the swing before you swing, what is your end result? It's awful. It's awful. When these guys are calm, it is so much easier to hit when you're calm than it's when there's pressure to hit. Look at any level of baseball. Look at any level of softball. Look at any level of swinging the stick. When there's pressure to go out there and get production, it's a lot harder to do. And I think you could see that with just the Padres and their overall statistics in high leverage situations. Since the Padres signed Manny Machado, they have had two players that have led the way in high leverage situations. One is currently on the team. One is no longer on the team. I love just putting Frank on the spot to guess these things. One player on the team has done really well in high leverage situations. One player on the team has, one player's not on the team, has been very good in high leverage situations. Who are the top two players in high leverage situation for the Padres?
Say Fernando and Merrill.
It's Fernando and it's Jerks and Profar. Those are the two guys that have done the best in high leverage situations.
I thought you meant one on the IL, one
no,
not.
One not even on the team anymore. By the way, if you decided to sign him, you would be missing 82 games. Two players that have been at the worst, the two worst players in high leverage situations for the Padres since 2019 when Manny Machado signed. You want to take a guess? Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts. They are both hitting 150 and lower in high leverage situations since they became Padres. Both of them. So again, I mean, a lot of people want to, and I'm not. This is not going to be a slam Manny thing because he's great. I think a lot of these players are great and they're doing a good job. They both need to play better. I think the thing is that gets people on Manny is well, he'll hit a couple home runs. He's got 2 more home runs than Xander does. He's got 2 home runs for the first month of the season. Manny, you know what I did? I cursed him because at the beginning of the year, I said this about Manny Machado, and I'll tell you when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station 97.3 The Fan. 10:38 on a Monday. People are fired up about their San Diego Padres. I love the chat. It's so much fun. So much fun. I love your guys' passion. We might not agree on a lot of things. I'm trying to talk you off the ledge so you're not miserable watching games. But again, you got to keep the faith. Once these guys start getting healthy, you can start getting excited again for Padres baseball. But we talked about it off air. It makes a lot of sense. But going into the season, and I used to hate this narrative all the time. It's like, hey, love what you got. I think you should strive for as much as you can. I agree with that. But going into the season, this was a team that was competing for the third wild card spot in the playoffs. This is a team that was expected to finish behind the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers in the standings. This is a team that, hopefully can win more than 85 games if they want to get into the playoffs. And then they win 7 straight to start the year, and all of a sudden, the expectations have changed. -2. But I'm not as freaking out about the way they've played the last week because it's not the team that was playing at the beginning of the year. Now, I think things would be different if you had everybody in the lineup and they were doing this. By all means, it would be time to be like, hey, what's going on? This is embarrassing. But they don't have everybody in the lineup. And the way this roster is constructed, it's a lot different. So you have to move things around a little bit and have a different perspective of this is what you're going to get until you start getting guys back. Arraez should be back tomorrow, hopefully. That will ease things up a little bit. That will move the lineup down. Now, all of a sudden, Xander, instead of batting 4th, is probably batting 5th. Then you get Jackson Merrill back. And instead of Xander batting 5th, he's probably batting 6th. And you get Jake Cronenworth back at some point. Now, all of a sudden, he might be batting 6th or 7th in the lineup. That's a way different lineup. Way different lineup. But until that happens, understand the situation of what lineup you have out there right now. It's not that great. And I don't think anybody was expecting to be great. I mean, Mike Schilt can say what he wants. Not going to make excuses. I love everything he said. He's taking responsibility, even though I don't know how much responsibility he needs to take. I mean, I don't know what he needs to do different. They even asked him that yesterday, and he was like, we'll figure it out. It's ultimately my job. It's not Mike Schultz's fault. It's not A.J. Preller's fault. They're beat up right now. That happens in sports. Next man up mentality. But that means everybody's got to step up, not just certain individuals that we want to have step up. Manny, Xander need to play better. They know it. I don't need to say it. They know it. It's like coaching when I'm coaching football and I got a kid that messes up, and it's a different circumstance. He's not getting paid $25 million a year. But he knows he messed up. I don't need to jump on him when he's messing. I don't need to do that. He knows. I think it's different if you're seeing a guy just completely tank and just not even try. I'd be all for ripping that guy. But at this point in the season, it's April 28th, can't be overly freaking out about certain production out of some of these guys. Everybody's in a slump right now, with the exception of Fernando. But Fernando is off to a MVP-style pace. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Got a lot of people that want to weigh in. Let's get out to my resident scout in Miramar. Tim, what's going on, man?
How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing all right. Now, I think you called in when I said this. I forgot. I teased it, so I have to say this before we start the phone call. I said at the beginning of the year, Manny's always hit 4 home runs in his first month of the season. He's got 2 right now. So underperforming to his usual standards. And since I said that, I probably cursed him in the first couple of months of the season. But we'll see if Manny can hit. Maybe Manny can hit 2 home runs the next 2 days, and he still hits his 4 home runs. But, Tim, what do you got for me today?
Okay, you're absolutely stealing my thunder, bro. First of all,
it's my show. I got to steal the thunder from you, Tim.
Absolutely, the biggest problem is the injuries, without a doubt. No question. The rest of it, Braden, is your fault. Okay? You jinxed Machado because he said he would have 4 home runs, and he gets off to a slow start, and you read all the stats. And sure enough, here he is.
His slow start usually has 4 home runs.
And he's got half of that.
He's got half of it.
And you were up on Bogarts, having a good season this year. So that's the other one you jinxed. And so far, no bueno for either of these guys. So the rest is your fault, Braden.
That's right. I'll take responsibility. I'll be like Mike Schill.
Exactly.
I'll take responsibility for that.
Exactly.
I got to say they both suck, and maybe they'll turn it around. I think that's what I got to do.
That's what we both need to do. I agree. Thank you for presenting the facts about what Machado is hitting in high leverage situations. I appreciate that because whenever I talk about Manny, I get crushed. But you can look at his playoff numbers, except for one season, they're horrible as well. So, it is what it is. But let's talk about the rest of these guys real quick. When the guys come back, Iglesias stays, Wade stays, and Sheet stays. That's it. The rest of these guys are gone. My scouting credentials are gone, and the rest of these guys are gone. Now, you did say that the 5 best players from the minors are up right now. And I'll disagree with that because I just don't understand why they hate Campy so much now.
They don't think they don't like him. They don't like his defense, Tim, and they view that position as a defensive position.
I get that.
Hey, you know what? They've been talking about it, and some people want him up with the big league club, and some people don't. And they're gonna once they are on the same page, Tim, they'll be up with the big league. He'll be up with the big league club. But right now, they view it as a defensive position. And until Luis gets to a defensive level, you ain't going to see him in a Padres uniform. Or they're just going to have him pull up to be a DH. But again, they're not in agreement on that. So until that's the case, you're going to see him in AAA. I think it really shows you a lot about Campusano, the fact that he's been raking in AAA and he's not up right now. I think that says more about Campusano than it does about anything else. So there's obviously some problem. There's something going on. But again, I'm surprised that they haven't pulled him up yet to be a DH. Unless they think bringing him up just to be a DH and not having him play in other positions is a waste, and they're trying to use the DH position as a rotating thing to have guys off their legs, then he's not in the lineup, and they apparently don't want him to catch. So we'll see. But until it's a defensive first position for the Padres. If he's not good at defense, he ain't going to be up with the Padres. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that's just what they've said. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. As KG said in the chat, and he said a lot of outlandish things today, but this one's spot on. Tirso and Gonzalez were also raking in AAA. It's the PCL, guys. Everybody rakes in the PCL. Tim LaCastro is raking in the PCL. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Xander Bogaerts' number one fan, Ryan in San Diego. Ryan, you're on the Braden Surprenant show. What's going on, man?
Braden, can you hear me?
I got you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the call. And yeah, I think there's a couple just brief and alternative perspectives to provide. A lot of which you've been echoing, a lot of which might not be able to, it's not easy to see with the scuffling in April. Number one, like you said, it's a long season. Got to get everybody healthy. No question. We're not at full strength. To emphasize for Padre fans, I would say June, August, and fingers crossed, October are probably the only 3 months of most value for this team. Looking at the schedule, June, August, full of divisional games, have to be at full strength for all those, for the tiebreakers, for obviously just winning. And then, of course, October. So is it the end of the world? No, right? Obviously not. However, alternatively, against your viewpoints, I would say the drop-off, losing these guys is expected. The numbers are going to go down. Everyone knows that. But it's not a good look when the 21-year-old goes down, the singles hitter goes down, and we all love Jake Cronenworth, but the 6/7 hole utility kind of non-power threat guy goes down, and the entire offense disappears. It's not a great look for Manny, for Xander. And you talk about a lot of the things in the behind the scenes with Xander. He's working on stuff. The bat speed's up. All those things are great. But we don't have access to that as fans. And maybe he is putting in the extra work. Maybe he's first guy in, last guy out. All those things are great. But the bottom line is, as they say on TV all the time, Don and Mud, when it's an ugly play and they get the job done or vice versa, it's a results-based business. So hearing that the bat speed's up, seeing that the barrel percentage might be up a little bit, it doesn't translate on the field. Not to mention the eye test and the effort shows the defense hasn't been great. The range isn't where it used to be, or at least it was last year when it was an emphasis. The errors, obviously the fly balls, the eye test and the effort is all we see, right? So we don't see the background stuff. And if he is putting in the extra effort, or he is making an exerted effort to improve and he cares that much, we don't see or hear about it. So it's hard for us to wrap our heads around that. And I think the last thing I'll say is that whether he is working or not working, you got a guy like Fernando who didn't necessarily need to make a ton of improvements, but he made a obvious mechanical adjustment early on, cut down the leg kick, and he made an exerted effort to improve as a player, even though, frankly, he probably didn't really need to, right? I mean, the numbers were there. He cut down the leg kick because his biggest issue was the swing and miss, the chase, the strikeouts, etc. So he made an exerted effort, and it's something we see on TV. Now, that might be asking too much from Xander, and I'm not asking him to stand up backwards or make some drastic adjustment, but we don't see anything. And then the effort on the defensive side, it's not there. And so our only takeaway is going to be, it looks like this dude going through the motions, i.e. similar to a Hosmer situation. Looks like he's kind of bored out there. He's a little defeated. And we see absolutely nothing from that spot in the lineup and at shortstop.
The
So
biggest difference, and Ryan, I appreciate the phone call, with Hosmer and Xander. Xander does all the extra work pregame before they let you guys into the building, where Hosmer would refuse to do a lot of that stuff. And he got to the point where he was like, gloves sick, bro, and he wouldn't do anything like that. Xander, I mean, you could tell they talked to him on Friday. You could tell it matters to him. And again, the guy's a pro's pro. And so from that perspective, yeah, I'm going to defend what he's been doing, because it's not like guys in the past sometimes that just didn't give an S and were just like, hey, I'm just collecting a check. If the guy was acting like Anthony Rendon, boo the you-know-what of that guy. But he's not. And again, the metrics that you would look for a player that's cooked and aging would be bat speed and different elements at the plate, and those aren't down for him. So to say that he's cooked and just give up on him and cut him for $25 million a year, which would catastrophically set this franchise back 10, 15 years, and that's just assuming that nobody picks him up and nobody in the National League picks him up, in which you have to deal with him on a daily basis, and they only have to pay him $700,000. It's a little bit different. So, again, and everybody said, well, Manny's always going to turn it around. So far in Xander Bogaerts' career with the Padres, he's turned it around every single time. He has. Go look it up. His first year here, he had a 4.4 WAR. His second year here, started off slow, came back from injury, hit over 300. This year, it's April 28th. If he continues to do this the entire season, I think there's room for concern. But you got to give him the opportunity to do that. Defense has not been great. He is an aging shortstop. He is the oldest shortstop in Major League Baseball. Shortstop in Major League Baseball right now is almost like a quarterback position. It is a young man's game. And the teams that can use a young player on a rookie deal are going to have a lot of value at shortstop compared to players or teams that sign 30-year-old shortstops. And that's what the Padres did. Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts. All of those players are aging and not doing as well at shortstop as they used to. Those are the oldest shortstops in Major League Baseball. I think there's a couple other on that list as well, if I'm not mistaken. Orlando Arcia is terrible. He's 30 years old. Dansby Swanson's 31. Trevor Story's 32. I mean, Trevor Story's had a bounce back this year, but he hasn't been very great, and the Red Sox paying him a fortune. Mookie Betts is 32. Tim Anderson's 32. Trey Turner, 32. Xander Bogaerts, 32. Other players in their 30s. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, J.P. Crawford, Corey Seager's 31. He's got hit. He just got banged up again. So you start to look at other options out there. Unless you got a rookie shortstop who's making league minimum, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. So who are you going to go get? I mean, that's the biggest question. You could say all you want about, like, we got to get rid of this guy. Who's going to play shortstop? Is it Mason McCoy? Would you rather, like, have Mason McCoy play every day at shortstop? I mean, we're watching Gavin Sheets right now play every day, and he's getting exposed at the plate. He's had 10 strikeouts this week when he played every day. Now, if you want to say that Xander Bogaerts, he's not the greatest defensively. I mean, he's okay. He's losing his arm strength. He's not going to be a shortstop on the Padres in the next 2 years. That's what Leo's for. And if Leo hits above 280 in Double-A, which he's not there yet, I wouldn't be surprised if he's up sooner rather than later. And then he'll move somewhere else. But he's on your team. I mean, I watched Jose Iglesias at second base. He's a lot better defender than Xander is, but again, you look at his numbers, it's not very good offensively over the same week. Padres are in a slump collectively. We'll get back to your phone calls when we come back. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Arturo, Jay, Kevin, Mitch, stay on hold. We'll get to you when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show just getting started on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 2 of the Braden Surprenant Show. People are fired up. Got to ship Xander Bogaerts off the team. I don't necessarily think that's a good idea. Or just bench him. Let's have $25 million rotting on the bench. Like they did with Matt Carpenter. Didn't really work out for them too much. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll get back to your phone calls. Again, like there's a reason why some of these guys have success, and there's a reason in times that they don't have success. Some of these players are not everyday players. I think Jose Iglesias could be an everyday player. I don't know if he's a better shortstop than Xander Bogaerts is. I wouldn't be like super opposed to that. But again, I mean, with some of these, I poke holes in a lot of these arguments on where you bat guys. I mean, for a while, it's like, well, he's having a terrible offensive performance. Let's just have him DH only. Because they're not going to not play him, right? I don't know but then you have Mason McCoy playing. That's another automatic out in the lineup, it seems like. Eventually, Xander Bogaerts will probably move to first base or somewhere else. And again, you're going to be paying the $25 million a year. You can look at a lot of other positions. You can look at all the other shortstops in Major League Baseball. He's the 9th highest paid shortstop in Major League Baseball. Xander Bogaerts. How are the other shortstops doing? Xander right now, after the slump of the last 2 weeks, is about average in terms of shortstops in Major League Baseball. He's right in the middle for almost every category offensively. He was top 10 before the slump that the entire team has gone on. But you start looking at some of the options there. Again, he's the 9th highest paid shortstop in Major League Baseball. Gunnar Henderson, when he becomes a free agent, will be in the top 10. Ellie De La Cruz, when he gets his contract, will be in the top 10. Jeremy Pena, when he signs a new contract, will be in the top 10. Anthony Volpe, who hasn't signed a contract yet, will be in the top 10. CJ Abrams will probably get over $20 million a year once he becomes a free agent or whenever they decide to give him a contract. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't necessarily know J.P. Crawford, who gets off the books at the end of the next year, or Mason Wynn will get that kind of money. But when you add those 5 players that will probably all get paid more than $25 million a year to play shortstop, Xander's going to be a top 15 paid shortstop in Major League Baseball. If you're a top 15 paid shortstop in Major League Baseball, you got to just be in the top 15. 3-year slump, dude. Look up his stats. Like, it's just, what do you mean? What do you mean? His defense is getting worse. He's an aging veteran. This is what you don't sign 30-year-old shortstops. But again, you look at where he's at in Major League Baseball. He's top 15 shortstop. He's hitting better than a lot of other ones out there. He's getting on base better than a lot of other ones out there, which is interesting for an organization that's had a brand new shortstop every single year. That you're in this position of like, well, we don't want the steadiness of a shortstop here. We got to go. We'd rather have a rental. Adam said that the other day. I would rather have a 1-year guy every year until Leo DeVries comes up. Who are those 1-year guys? Well, one of them for the Pirates is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. You could have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa for $7.5 million this year. I don't know if I want Isaiah Kiner-Falefa on the team. But instead of having Bogaerts, I guess you could have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and then use the other money to go get somebody else. But you've already made the decision. Here's the thing with the Padres and why it's a hard decision. I'll lay out the options of what you got. I mean, you got to think about it realistically if you really want to get rid of this guy. You look at, when you look at other options at shortstop, and again, I've mentioned before, I mean, there's a lot out there, and there's a lot that aren't ever going to live up to what their contract is. But when you're the San Diego Padres, and here's the biggest takeaway on this, okay? It's the same thing as you either want to be aggressive or you don't want to be aggressive. You can't judge it hindsight after the fact and be upset with some of the moves that they make. We talk about it from the base running perspective, right? You guys either want them to go hit and run and try to, contact play and trying to swipe bags. If it works, it's great. Mike Schultz a genius. If it doesn't, oh, he's an idiot. Why are we doing this? You either want to be aggressive or you don't. The same thing is with spending money. You either want to hand out these big contracts and get some of these players or you don't. I think the Padres have been very fortunate to hit on most of their big contracts. Manny Machado's worked out so far. That could have been a disastrous contract. It's worked out so far. Jackson Merrill, still very early, but locking him up for a long period of time is probably going to work out. Fernando Tatis Jr., big contracts worked out. When you're a team like the San Diego Padres, if you don't hit on one, you can't buy your way out of it. Like the Dodgers can, like the Yankees can, like the Giants can. So when you sign these big, and this is what it costs to sign big-time free agents, you can't get upset when one of them doesn't work, and then it prevents you from signing one in the future. Again, when you go into the free agency, you're thinking about, I'm going to sign this guy to a long-term deal, which takes me off the board of signing any free agent the next year, any free agent the following year, any free agent after that in terms of a long-term contract. This is who they invested in. You can't sign these deals every single year. You're not one of those organizations. Dodgers can eat the money on wasting money on Chris Taylor. They can eat it and they can go get somebody else. Padres can't do that. So when you go all or nothing and you wheel and deal and you sign big contracts, these are some of the results that you get when it doesn't work out. It's not going to be a great contract as it moves on. But if Xander at the end of the year is in the top 10 in offensive categories for shortstops, you're getting what you paid. You're getting what you paid. You're getting what you paid for. If he doesn't, you have a legitimate gripe. But until the end of the season, you can't be like overindulged in it. Because everybody right now is in the tank until they start getting some players back. Somebody goes, I will never blame a GM or ownership for going for it, but I sure as hell can blame Xander. For doing what exactly? I already went through all his stats. Again, people think he's been slumping for 3 years. His first year here, all of his numbers were on par for what he did in Boston. Last year, when he came back from injury, all of his numbers were on par in Boston. And so far this year, he's off to a little bit of a slump. After he started off pretty strong. His bat speed's fine. His exit velo's fine. If those were down, you'd have a reason for concern. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Want to get your phone calls today. Let's get out to Jay in San Diego. Jay, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man? Jay, are you there? Aw, man. Thomas in San Diego, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. Thomas, what's going on?
What's going on, Braden? I think anyone who wants to get rid of Xander doesn't actually care about this franchise long term. I think you are too short-sighted in seeing what's going down here. We're 3 years into an 11-year contract with Xander. We're not going to give him up anytime soon. He hasn't even had a full season besides his first one, which, like you said, was good, to prove that he's not slumping. So everyone just needs to be patient. Just chill out. Like you said, if he's a top 15 at the end of this year, it'll be fine. Like, that's what you're paying him for.
Exactly.
So we overpaid for him, and then we got to eat that contract at least a little bit. But you're paying for what you get. So
you're paying for
I think
what
a little
you get.
Overreaction from most people, but in the meantime, I want you to sit tight. Wait for this team to get back to full strength, and then we can go from there.
Absolutely. I appreciate the phone call, Thomas. Everybody that's complaining about Xander, I want to hear your answers. Who are you bringing in that's going to be better? I'd like to know. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. He's not getting worse. He's been the same. He got hurt last year, and before he got hurt, but like when he was dealing with the wrist injury, he wasn't playing very well, and then he came back and he got better. But he's only going to continue to decline a little bit, obviously, because he's 32 years old. You decided to give him a 11-year contract when he's 30 years old. You're getting what you're paying for. He does need to play a lot better than he is doing right now. I've said that multiple times. Him and Manny need to play a lot better. The only one that really doesn't need to play that much better is Fernando. Did you see a double play he had yesterday? It was insane. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I have 4 options for you that you can pick when it comes to Xander Bogaerts. I will tell you what those options are, and then I want you to tell me what you think you would do. And I'd love to know who you would replace him with. Who's out there in Major League Baseball that is better than Xander, that costs less than Xander, that you could go get. There's not a lot of options, especially when it comes to free agents last year. I mean, the free agents that were signed last year, like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Tim Anderson and guys like, Willie Adames, who's off to a poor start in San Francisco. Until Leo comes up, you're just kind of treading water with him until you can bring Leo up, which might be at the end of the season, might be next year, it might be 2 years from now. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Future options at shortstop. I got 4 of them for you. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Tune into the Manager's Report with Mike Schilt this Friday at 9 a.m. on Ben and Woods. The Manager's Report is refreshed by EcoWater SoCal. Try alkaline water for just $9.95 a month. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. I got 4 options for you when it comes to the shortstop position. I'll let you chew on it. Since everybody wants him gone, I mean, you have to understand the consequences, as Thomas laid out, thinking about the future of this organization, the future of the franchise. Because all these deals come with long-term consequences. Option 1 is let Xander Bogaerts continue to play on your team at $25 million a year. Keep the status quo. Option 2, try to trade Xander and convince him to waive his no-trade clause. But you'd probably have to trade him with Ethan Salas and eat about 60% of his contract, which is $15 million a year, until 2034. You're already paying the $12 million a year, which ends this year for Eric Hosmer. So it's not like you're saving too much money. You're saving about $10 million a year, which, by the way, in this particular case, you're not getting a lot of players right now for $10 million that are really worth anything. You're getting some very average to below average players at this day and age with that kind of rate. Option 3 is to try to have a team take even more of his contract by trading Xander with Salas and DeVries and eat 20% of his contract. Means only $5 million a year until 2034. That being said, now you don't have a replacement at shortstop. And I don't know what you do in the next. I guess you can go sign somebody. I don't know who you're going to be able to go out there and get. Option 4, which a lot of people were saying this weekend, I think emotionally than anything else, is you just cut him and eat the $25 million until 2034. Which, by the way, if you decide to do that, that means another team could pick him up for league minimum, and then who knows where you're at. I don't think he's that bad yet where you want to pay $25 million to have him play against you. He's not that bad, which is my whole argument on everything that's played out. Again, if you want to bring Hassan Kim in here, he's going to cost you $20 to $24 million a year. You're going to probably have to give him the exact same contract. And he doesn't have high power numbers, which is everything that you want to talk about Bogaerts. Those are kind of your options. If you have another one, let me know. Love to know. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Let me know who to go sign. Who should the Padres go replace him with? I guess you could put Fernando back at shortstop. I don't think that would be a great idea. I don't know how the Padres feel about that. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Arturo in Eastlake. You're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man?
Hey, Braden. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to talk everybody off the ledge. Keep things positive on a Monday, man.
First thing I do want to say that you are doing well. You're doing so well that I'm really happy for you. I used to listen to you on Sundays mornings too. You always keep it real. You have a very good take. Honestly, this whole Xander Bogaerts Piñata Fest is kind of boring. I don't really understand how people can't see that. Yes, we do have an aging shortstop, like you said. So his defense is not, the greatest. He does have a limited range and whatever, but he's not, like really a terrible shortstop. He's not. He's steady, and eventually he's going to be moved, I think, to either second or first base. And he probably already knows that. Like when Leo comes up, that option that I don't know if it's a different one, but I would keep Bogaerts until Leo comes up. I don't want him traded. I don't want Salas traded. And the only one about the people that you might bring up that I have a question about, because I haven't really been following him, is Eggy Rosario. How's he doing? Is he possibly?
He's not doing very well offensively, Arturo. He is not doing very well offensively, and that's in the PCL. So there's not a lot of options there. He's not doing well. My guy Divine, Matt Divine's in the chat. Give me a call, dude. Give me a call. I got a bone to pick with you. Give me a call. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. I appreciate the phone call, Arturo. So got Kevin Chula Vista wants to weigh in. Kevin, what's going on, man?
Hey, happy Monday, Braden, and thanks again for taking all the calls and a lot of great perspectives here as usual. 3 points. Number one, from a macro perspective, I'll remind everybody again, we were really in a state of ecstasy when we started trading away a lot of our up-and-coming farm talent for the likes of Juan Soto, et cetera. And we said, great, if Juan Soto can give us a World Series, get us into the playoffs and be a big impact player, keep him here for long term, then it's worth giving away all the talent. Well, that didn't work out so well. So I would remind people that we're paying a price now for transactions that were done, and that would include Xander Bogaerts' transaction that everybody's complaining about. So what it is folks, we're paying the piper, and I said that last week. I'll say it again. The Padres farm system is pretty much depleted. It doesn't offer impact players, hasn't in quite some time, actually, when you look in the aggregate. Number two, looking at Xander, I think the frustration that people have with Xander and the frustration that I have, and I agree, you can't move him. You don't have better options. This is about waiting for Leo to come up. No question about it. But the frustration is when Xander has men on base in front of him, it's a critical moment in the game when you need to have that impact play, impact hit. He doesn't do it. He's a guy that is not able to produce the type of offensive impact that this team sorely needs. You could see it all weekend when men were on base. Here comes Bogaerts. It's either a lazy fly ball or it's a infield out. And that's what people are frustrated with when they see him offensively. The defensive thing is you get what you get. So I would say in the third point, and I'll finish up with this. Great that we're going to get these guys back someday, sometime. But remember, these guys have been out of action for quite some time, and there's going to need to be a ramp up for them too. And maybe we'll get lucky and they'll be able to return to the form that they were before they left. On the other hand, what we don't know is some of these guys, it may take a lot longer to become impact players again because of the amount of time that they've missed. So we don't know. And so getting them back is also a big question mark of the unknown, which makes baseball great. It's a 162 game season. It'll play itself out. But, we're paying a price for what we did over the years. We don't have any World Series rings to show for it. We tried, but a lot of those players that we could have used now are elsewhere.
Kevin, appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. Bogaerts has not done well in high leverage situations or runners in scoring position in a Padres uniform. He has not. Manny Machado has not done that either in high leverage situations. It would be nice to have some of those guys do that. We got some time, obviously. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Orthodox Evans in the chat. Why is he batting second and fourth? Move his ass down. Well, tell me somebody in the lineup right now you want batting cleanup. Give me a name. Give me a name. The way the roster is right now, tell me who you want batting fourth. Because when everybody comes back, Xander's probably batting sixth. Maybe seventh. We'll see. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Johnny in San Diego wants to weigh in. Johnny, what's going on, man? Yo, Johnny, what's up, dude? Later, bro. Out. Jimmy and PB, you're on the Braden Surprenant show. What's going on, man?
Braden, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Don't say literally. Hold on. I got to yell at somebody in the chat. Don't say literally anyone. Put somebody's name in there. All right, back to you, Jimmy. What's up, dude?
I think everybody just needs to remember it's April.
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned about Xander that much. I mean, maybe I'm on the Xander train or something like that. But I feel like he's a vet, and I don't like to play the vet card too much because there is a time where you get too old to play this game. But I feel like he is going to heat up. I feel like he's going to do what we expect him to do. My concern on this team isn't at shortstop. My concern is catching position. And I'm just seeing a black hole when it comes to defensively and offensively that I'm kind of frustrated with. And that's something that I would be more concerned about in the long haul with this towards the end of the season. But I don't know. I think people are focusing on Xander for some reason. But I don't. I think that the concern needs to be more towards the catching position. So that's my take.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Jimmy. Thanks again for giving us a ring. It's early on. The catching position is interesting. But at this point in time, with the catching position, the Padres view that as a defensive position. And the defensively, it's been okay. It's been great. The pitchers love throwing to the two catchers that they have. But as of right now, yeah, you're right. I think it's interesting with where you're at with Luis Camposano not getting pulled up yet. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Matt in Poway, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. Matt, what's going on, man?
Braden, what's good, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for giving me a ring.
Yes, sir, dude. Well, I'll be honest, Braden. I was a Xander Bogaerts. I'm a delusionally optimistic Padres fan, and I try to think of the good in every situation. But I was kind of up at night last night thinking I really think this contract has potential to ruin a window that the Padres are in right now. Given the fact that he's getting paid $25 million for the next 8-9 seasons, and he's showing no sign of improvement. It's one thing right now if he was hitting, he had a 740 OPS, playing decent shortstop, all that stuff. The potential of Xander, if this is his quote unquote prime, we're absolutely screwed. So
it's not his prime, dude. He's 32 years old. His prime was in 2019 when he put up the best numbers he has ever put up in his career. Everything else that you've seen, Matt, is what he has on average done in all the other years in Boston. He's not a power hitter.
So we gotta complain, and I know it's not necessarily privy to the public, but do you think deep down this was a Preller contract or a Peter Seidler, I need to make a deal because I want to win now contract?
It's from what I told. I mean, that year they wanted to. All I know is they wanted to make a splash, and it was Aaron Judge first, and he said no, and then it was Trey Turner, and he said no, and it was down to Xander, Dansby, and Carlos Correa. So you could interpret that whatever you will, but out of those three guys, who would you rather have right now with the contracts they have? I mean, as of right now, Xander's outplayed both of them, or he's making less than Carlos Correa, who's making $33 million a year. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, you could have Carlos Correa numbers right now. I guess he's done better defensively, but for $33 million a year, you're not paying for defensive shortstop. You're paying for high production. As you mentioned, I agree. I mean, it's his OPS in every year has not been that spectacular. But you look at what he's done in 2023, on average for what he did in Boston. You look at what he did coming back from injury in 2024, on average in Boston, right now, off to a rough start. I mean, Dansby, as put in the chat, Dansby Swanson can't hit, period. So, yeah, they wanted to make a big splash. That's what they decided to do. They didn't need Xander Bogaerts when they signed him. I totally agree with that take. Don't need him. And when that happened, I was about to get on a plane for the Army-Navy game going like, they don't really need this guy. Why did they spend all this money for him? But they did. So it is what it is. Matt, I appreciate the phone call, man. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt Devine calling into the show. We'll get back to your phone calls when we come back in just a little bit. But again, I mean, the thing is they got a lot of problems in different spots. And it's just, I think the expectations of the first 7 games kind of made everybody think it's a World Series or bust team. I mean, I changed my outlook on the overall number of wins. But as of right now, you're 17-10, which means you're 7 games above 500, which you're back on pace. And I'm not saying this gets you in the playoffs, but if you play 500 ball the rest of the way, you're winning 85 games. 7 games over 500 after going 7-0 to start the season. That's why getting off to such a great start was important. You were going to have slides like this. And unfortunately for the Padres, it's very early. I think it's more fortunate for the Padres than anything else. Get it out of the way now. Could you imagine if this happened in August after the trade deadline? Oh, it'd be a mess. But to go against, and Divine says X might be, he's not. His numbers that they look at to determine whether or not he's cooked: exit velo, swing, bat speed. They like his exit velo. They like his bat speed for his age. It's not that it's if that was way low, I would be like, okay, this guy's they're in some trouble, but it's not. Again, I mean, people could say, eye test. He didn't look that great. He doesn't look that great defensively. And remember, I don't know if anybody's seen his splits. He's hitting over 300 on the road. He's hitting under 180 at home right now. It's April. Let the guy get warmed up a little bit. He looked pretty good last year at the end of the season when he came back from injury. But you don't have a left fielder. You don't have an offensive position for catcher. You got a lot of guys that are hurt. There's a lot of problems that the Padres have right now that should be getting some of these back. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Again, there was only 1 year in which he hit over 20 home runs, 30 home runs. It was 2019. Every other year, 12 home runs, 7 home runs, 21 home runs, 10, 23, 11, 23, 15, 19, 11. You take out the 33 in 2019, and he's averaging about 15 homers a year. We'll see what he does against the Giants this week. But again, the Padres best players need to step up. They do. Him and Manny. They got to try to tread water, as they said, until you start getting players back. And he should be getting Luis Arraez back this week. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Continue this conversation when we come back. Talk Padres baseball. What option do you think we should do? Plus, we're going to get to the sports thread as well on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. You guys crack me up in the chat, man. It's so funny. So funny. I can't even say his name because it's something else. But O's looking to trade. Hopefully AJ can work some magic. Get us Adley Rutschman. Could you imagine? I don't know how that's going to pull. I don't know how you're going to pull that off, Captain. But I'm having such a great time. This is so much fun. Just a couple people were like, how long are we talking about Xander Bogaerts? Hey, man, it's got to play the hits. People want to talk. Hey, we'll talk. But hopefully not the entire season. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We got some crazy stories in the sports world that we want to get to. Obviously, we got to talk about Shedeur Sanders' prank call. We're going to get to that in the sports thread. But before that, we're going to get back to your phone calls. Let's get out to Escondido. Larry, you're on the Braden Surprenant show. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, Brandon, what's up, man? I hate to beat the dead horse here, but I'm talking about Xander as well.
Oh, my God, another guy. Come on.
No, but hey,
you don't have any problems about anybody else?
I just want to say this. Like, I'm a little more optimistic. Like, baseball is a very, very tough sport, and it is a sport filled with slumps. It is hard to come out, produce 1,000% every day. You're going to go through these things. So I'm on Xander's side here. I mean, you go through the first part of the season, we lose all of, our top players. Suddenly you've got a lot of pressure put onto you. I mean, you're getting paid big money. I'm not going to talk about his contract. Like, obviously you're expected to produce, but I'm truthfully not too worried about it right now. Like, I think when guys start coming back, he's going to be doing just fine. If I were to nitpick him, I think personally that I would like to see him go ahead and swing at first strikes. I don't know if it's just a part of his routine and he likes to get in the box and, see what the pitcher's throwing, but I would like to see him be a little more aggressive on first pitch strikes because I feel like he's getting a lot of those and then he lets it go by and then he just gets down early. So I think, obviously he makes some errors, which not excusable, but man, he's human and it's going to happen. So I think that as we get back and we start getting these guys back, he's going to be fine. So I think I just want to see him be a little more aggressive with the first pitch strikes. And I'm not too worried about it. It's early. We got plenty of time. We got a good team, a good squad. Once we get these injuries handled, I think we're going to be just fine.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Larry. It's so funny the drastic difference. All the phone calls are like pro Xander. Everybody in the chat's anti Xander. It's like two different worlds. We're trying to break through the echo chambers here and see it's the collection of ideas here in the Padres world. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Steve in Poway, what do you want to talk about today, Steve?
Hey, Braden, great show, man. I'm cracking up. I would go on Xander, but I'm going to stay off Xander today.
Oh, how about wow! Round of applause to Steve. We're gonna mix it up a little bit. I love it.
Okay, I'll just make it real quick. Made an error that cost him a game on Friday. Dropped the pop up. Had the worst tag at second base where he raised his glove up 3 feet instead of keeping it low, getting the guy out. I got a feeling maybe he's just not that smart. That's not the reason I called. I actually called because you said the Padres have a lot of problems, and I disagree with you 100%. Here's the deal. Right now, we got a double-A team out on the field. So you got what you got. If this was the starting lineup and this is what was going on, I would agree with you 100% and say, we got some problems. But this isn't our team. This is the double-A team. And the only guy that's actually performing is Fernando. And so you got one guy that's really performing on the team, and you got a bunch of double-A players. And guess what? You know why they're playing now? Because they weren't good enough to be on the starting lineup. So now you got these guys that are minor leaguers coming up here that weren't good enough to make the team, and now they're supposed to represent the Padres and win games, and they're not winning games, which makes complete sense to me. If the team comes back to full strength and they're playing like this, then you have a right to say the Padres have problems. But right now, it just is what it is.
Well, Steve, I did appreciate the phone call. I did mention some of that earlier on the show. Problems are more like even when they come back. I mean, they do have they're still going to have a left field problem, and they're still going to have a catching problem. And obviously a problem in depth because now your full depth is out there. But as we mentioned before, you take 3 of the core 6 players of any Major League Baseball team off their roster for an extended period of time, like we've seen right now with the Padres, you're getting the same results everywhere else. Take some of the best players up. Take 3 of the best players off the Dodgers right now and see where they're at. Take the 3 best players off, 3 of the best, not the 3 best, but 3 of the best. 6 off the Mets roster. Where are they at? Same thing with Philly. Same thing with Atlanta. I mean, you already saw with Atlanta beginning part of the season with no Acuna and Murphy and no Spencer Strider. So again, it's a different team. Steve's on it with that. They got AA, AAA players up there that didn't make the team out of the gate, now getting an opportunity to play, and it is what it is. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Padres, when they sweep the Giants this week, can't wait. World Series tickets back on. I'll get in line. What's going on in the sports world? It's time for today's Sports Thread with Frank Marchese.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, here's Frank. We got 5 trending stories in the sports world that are not about Xander Bogaerts right here on the Braden Surprenant Show. Take it away, Frank.
Yes, we
Turn
do.
your mic on.
Yeah,
that's exciting. That's how excited he is.
That would help. I just wanted to get right into it. I just wanted to hit that
number 5.
Just wanted to hit it and go. All right, so we're going to start off today in Cleveland, Ohio, where one Guardians fan showed just how low people can go if they feel as though they won't face any repercussions for their actions. The Boston Red Sox put a beat down on the Guardians 13-3 yesterday, but it was Boston outfielder Jarren Duran who almost put a beat down on a fan. Well, now, how is that the fans' fault? Well, earlier this month at a Netflix docuseries called The Clubhouse, A Year with the Red Sox, Duran revealed that he has attempted to take his own life during his bout with depression during 2021 and 22. The fan decided to make a comment towards Duran referencing this, and as one would expect, Duran took exception to it. Between innings, Duran had to be held back by teammates and an umpire as he shouted back at the fan. The fan was removed from the ballpark, but Braden, why do people feel as though they can say whatever they want when they think nothing can happen to them?
Because they're used to it with social media and saying it online. I mean, that happens I would imagine that these guys get this a lot in social media posts and DMs. You see it a lot with like gambling. It cost me the whatever. I mean, just as said in the chat, scumbag move.
Yeah.
Don't let that fan in any ballpark anywhere in the United States. And you know what? I'm not upset with Jarren Duran getting upset with that.
No,
I mean,
you can't be.
Yeah, I mean, these guys already take a lot from other fans and things. You want to get on their play, fine, but any personal attacks and anything like that nature should be an automatic ban from all ballparks.
No, I agree 100%, and especially with someone like me who has dealt with depression before. I've never gotten that bad to where I tried to take my own life, but that's a subject that's like, oh, you're sad? No, just get happy. It's fine. No, it doesn't work like that. And the fact that Duran is comfortable enough to get out and express it and make himself vulnerable like that to be able to discuss it is fantastic. And for this dope to just take advantage of that and say what he said is just, it's embarrassing and disgusting as far as the Guardians fan base should be. And they were very upset with him.
Number 4.
All right, so we go from a story of good teammates sticking with one of their own to a story about a bad teammate. For this week, we go to the Talladega Superspeedway for NASCAR's trip to the famed track in Alabama. Superspeedway racing and NASCAR is all about having friends, having teammates help you, and more recently, getting your fellow drivers driving the same manufacturer as you, helping you as well. Meaning that if you're driving a Ford, if you can't win, well, you better be pushing another Ford to the win.
Right. There's team racing in NASCAR.
Yes. At the end of stage 2 yesterday, Joey Logano, driving a Ford, was chasing down Bubba Wallace in a Toyota for the stage win, with Penske teammate Austin Cindric coming up fast. Logano pulled out in front of Cindric, assuming Cindric would pass Logano past Wallace for the stage win. Unfortunately, Cindric was coming up too fast to push Logano without wrecking him and half the field in the process, and moved higher up the racetrack, slowing both drivers down, handing Wallace the stage win. Logano then went on an expletive-filled rant aimed at his teammate for, quote, giving the Toyota the stage win. In a welcome turn of karma, Cindric would end up winning the race, and Logano would finish fifth, but would later be disqualified after his car passed post-race inspection. What would you want in that spot? Go for the points like Logano, or play the bigger picture like Cindric?
I don't know. The team aspect of NASCAR is very interesting, to say the least.
But it wasn't for the race win. It was for a stage win.
Stage win. That's where, yeah, exactly. I'd probably go for, I don't know. What would you say, state for the points? Or
would you rather go for the immediate points that you would get for winning the stage? Or would you play the long game and make sure you have a car to try to win the race to get the most points you can?
Long game.
Yeah, of course.
Long game. His rant was hilarious, though.
It was. It was very, very good. And
what
again,
a stupid bleep.
Again, the karma of him getting disqualified at the end of the race, too, was even better.
Number 3.
Gotta go quickly here
Yes.
now.
From good teammates to bad teammates, and now to, teammates? We've all said our piece about Roki Sasaki signing with the Dodgers, but when something new comes out about the signing, you can't help but take notice. According to Dodgers beat writer Bill Plunkett, Sasaki told the Dodgers that if they installed a bidet-equipped Japanese-style toilet in the clubhouse, that it would influence his decision to sign with the team. The story came out on Thursday from Plunkett in the OC Register. Braden, I would like a lot of things here to make work more comfortable. Revamping the bathroom is not high on my priority of things I want. Where does this rank on the "are you kidding me" list?
Are you good? That's pretty high on the "are you good" list. The only thing that got Sasaki into LA was the heated toilet seats. Ridiculous. Are we doing this right now? Are we really doing this? Typical Dodger weirdness.
There you go.
Number 2.
All right, now from the silly to the serious. As Shedeur Sanders fell down the draft order, a story came out about a possible prank call that was made to Sanders from someone posing as a member of the New Orleans Saints organization. On Saturday, a video was posted of the phone call from the prankster's end, who seemed to be proud of his work. Unfortunately, the Atlanta Falcons, specifically defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, were less than entertained by the prank because it was Ulbrich's son who made the call to Sanders. Jax Ulbrich wrote down Shedeur's number from his father's open iPad during a recent visit home. Jax has since apologized on Twitter, saying that what he did was, quote, inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. Shedeur said he wasn't bothered by the call, and the Falcons will take no action against Jeff Ulbrich. Harmless prank, or a little bit worse?
I think the prank was uncalled for. I mean, you could say what you want about Shedeur Sanders and the Sanders fan. It's a big day for a lot of people. It's obviously was not thrilled about where he was landing to do that. And he wasn't the only prank call. There was multiple, people of other players getting prank called on their select GM phone that they were going to get. I think that's really uncalled for. To do that, it was kind of a low blow. I think a lot of people that just don't like Shedeur, thought it was great, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really bad. I don't know what you do though, like in terms of punishment of the dad. It's the son. It's like, what are you gonna do? Fire the guy? Like, I just whatever. They apologize. It doesn't seem like the Sanders family really cares. Let's just move on.
The only thing I can think of as far as the Falcons go is you give him like a something for leaving his iPad open with Shedeur's number on it, but even that's just a slap on the wrist. Sticking with the NFL, the Washington Commanders will not have to play at FedEx Field for too much longer. In an article yesterday, it was said that the Commanders and the city of Washington, D.C. have agreed to terms on a new stadium on the site of the old RFK Stadium. The Commanders' lease with the newly renamed Northwest Stadium runs out in 2027, but will be able to play there until the new stadium is finished, which owner Josh Harris hopes is in time for the 2030 season. Decent team, home settled now, this could be a good setup for the future.
I think it's a great setup. Right in the heart of D.C. Plus, that place has been abandoned now for a couple of years. D.C. United don't play there anymore. I think it's a great move. Very nostalgic for the Commanders fans. Just getting started. A couple hours left for the Braden Surprenant show. Coming up on San Diego Sports Station 97.3 The Fan.
fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? Lunchtime hour on the Braden Surprenant Show. Love to have all of you guys with us. Coming up at a 1 o'clock hour, we have, if I'm not mistaken, tickets to give away for tomorrow's game. Pair of tickets to Tuesday's Padres game against the Giants. First 40,000 fans will receive a free Tony Gwynn rookie bobblehead. Get tickets at Padres.com/ticket. Should be a fun house tomorrow for Padres and Giants. Padres off today on a Monday. Not a lot of those this year. It's mostly Thursdays. I'll be going down to the game tomorrow. So get down there early and get your bobblehead. If you can answer a trivia question in the 1 o'clock hour, we will give those away. I think somebody got a little anxious there. We're already trigger on the phone trying to get their tickets. Coming up at 12:35, we're going to have Eddie Brown on to recap the first round of the NFL draft. After that, we'll have our game show, our midday sports standoff. And if you take me down in that, you will have an opportunity to win or qualify for a chance to win our grand prize of 2 tickets to either Disturbed, Ghost, or Pantera in Las Vegas, plus a 2-night stay at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas and a $150 gift card. Get tickets for all 3 shows now at Ticketmaster.com. I do want to mention that baseball coverage on 97 through the Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. We're going to continue our baseball coverage. Right now, before we talk a little bit about the NFL draft, I do want to get your phone calls, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I talked about this a little bit before, and again, I think you get what you get when it comes to Xander Bogaerts. This is what you signed up for. And we talked about Xander's signing class, but the reality is, if you just look at the history, and I have even more numbers on this that I could talk about tomorrow, and I'm talking all positions. When you give out these gigantic contracts to players that are 28, 29, 30 years old, it very rarely works in your favor to where they play to that level of contract. So you should not be overly surprised if Xander doesn't live up to that contract over 11 years. Not for where he's at in his age. Let's talk about his signing class. His signing class of Carlos Correa, Trey Turner, Dansby Swanson, and Xander Bogaerts. I'm going to put Frank on the spot again. Aside from them all getting big-time money, and aside from them all not playing up to expectations, and despite all of them all signing at around age 30, right before age 30, what do all 4 of those players have in common? You have to do some deep thinking on this.
You got to get me on the deep thinking questions when I'm not working on the podcast stuff and actually paying attention.
What do those 4 players have in common that are not age, not ability, not contract? It has something to do with their signing of where they're at.
Big market teams.
No, but close. All 4 of those players did not re-sign with the organization that they were with where they dominated in that organization. Those organizations, the Boston Red Sox, the Atlanta Braves, the Houston Astros, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. What do all 4 of those organizations have in common? They're some of the better organizations in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Like, they're always at the top. Where did those 4 players sign? San Diego, Minnesota, Chicago, And what was the last one I'm thinking of?
Well, to be fair, it was Philadelphia was the last one. But to be fair,
Philly, yeah.
Correa signed with San Francisco, then he signed with the Mets, and then he signed with Minnesota.
And what did those two organizations do? I don't know about this guy.
They saw his foot and was like, maybe not.
So all those, I mean, people say the World Series winners, but they ended up going to San Diego, who is, I would say, really desperate to win a World Series. They're trying their best. And us in San Diego should appreciate how much this organization is trying to win, because they could be the Pirates. We could have ownership that's like the Pirates right now. Thank God we don't. And in a city that has had some bad ownerships in our professional sports, we are so blessed to have the ownership group that we have right now that spends money. But you look at the Padres, desperately trying to win a World Series, their first ever. Chicago, who is desperate to get back to where they were at. Minnesota. And Philly. I mean, Philly's been trying to hang with the Braves and the Mets. Who signed this year, Frank? Shortstop.
Oh, Willie Adames.
Willie Adames. Who did he play for? Milwaukee. Milwaukee didn't want him back. Signed with the Giants. Giants are trying to keep pace with everybody else in the National League West. So when you look at contracts and when the best is to sign guys, look at a lot of these teams that are built for the future very well. And the Padres have done this the last couple of times now. They did it with Fernando. They just did it with Merrill. If you want to keep your guys, and this is for everybody that always goes like, we should have kept this guy, we should have kept this guy, we should have kept this guy. And it could be the same case with Ha-Seong Kim. Who knows? I mean, he's got 1 year of a prove-it deal with the Rays, but if he does well when he comes back and hits the open market, Rays aren't going to pay for him, and then he's going to have to live up to expectations at his age 30-something plus. Seager's another guy. He's actually played pretty well. A lot better, but he's been hurt a lot. But the Dodgers let Seager go. And the Rangers picked him up. Rangers got a World Series out of it, though, so they've cashed in. But let's talk about contracts. If you're going to sign guys and extend guys, the time to do that is when you are young. When they are young, that's the risk you take, because if it doesn't work out, you are not losing a lot of money. That is what Atlanta did and made famous. You look at the contracts that Atlanta handed out, not necessarily great for the player, but tell you what, they offered contracts that players could not refuse. And they get Ozzie Albies for his prime years, and they get Acuna for his prime years, and they get guys like, I'm trying to look at their roster again. I mean, but they're getting a lot, the Pro 4 is a little bit hard. Michael Harris the second during his prime years. Now think about the bad contracts they signed. Matt Olson is relatively not that great of a contract. What did the Braves do? They let Dansby walk, and they let Freddie Freeman walk. I don't necessarily know if they wanted to let Freddie Freeman walk at this point, but, Austin Riley's making a ton of money for the next handful of years. Matt Olson making a ton of money for the next 4 to 5 years. Their best deals, Acuna during his prime years, Ozzie Albies during his prime years, Michael Harris II during his prime years. You sign them for when they're in their prime. What did that do for the rest of Major League Baseball? They started to get wise. They're like, okay, let's try to get these guys signed as early as possible. You saw it with Jackson Chourio in Milwaukee. We're going to buy this guy out of all his prime years, and then we'll see what happens when he becomes free agent age. The Arizona Diamondbacks did it with Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll, Jackson Chourio left money on the table, but guess what? Teams got him for prime seasons. Padres did it with Jackson Merrill. They wanted to do it earlier with Jackson Merrill. They got that contract done. You got Jackson Merrill under contract for the next whatever it is, whatever deal he signed. Let me go look at it again.
It was 10 years.
9 years.
9 years.
He got a 1 year deal this year for $809,000, which is better than league minimum. And then his contract starts next year. 9 year deal. He'll be up until about like 29, 30 years old. And then that's when you're going to have to make a decision. Maybe you extend him again like you did with Manny. But when you don't sign guys is when they're in their 30s. You sign them when they're in their 20s, and you get years like with Jackson Merrill, you're getting him for age 21 to age about 30. Those are years you want that guy. If you look at Xander Bogaerts, if you would have had him for those years, you'd be like, this is the greatest player ever. This is why the Red Sox fans love Xander Bogaerts, because they don't watch some of the games that we see. They're used to him being a 20-year-old. So the question's going to be, again, when you get to some of these guys' age. Now, with Fernando, he's signed till 2034. You're buying out the first couple of years of his 30s. He's never leaving. But the question's going to be, Jackson Merrill, and whether or not you give him a contract extension in X amount of years. Yeah, same thing with Pujols to the Angels. I mean, you go through, and I have to update these stats, but you start looking at some of the players that were signed at age 30 and higher, 28, 29, 30 and higher. You got a lot of players that don't live up to their contract. I mean, you're talking about guys like Anthony Rendon. You're talking about guys like Paul Goldschmidt. You're talking about guys like George Springer, Josh Donaldson when he signed a 4-year, $92 million deal with the Yankees. There's a couple at the beginning when these started to really come about. But more recently, and with more of these contracts being handed out, it's showing to not be very beneficial for organizations to sign players who are 30 years old. And that's not to say they can't play. They can still play and give you productivity. But if you're expecting anything more than what a 30-year-old can bring you, it's just you have to understand from the perspective of what you're getting this guy for and at what age you're getting him at. But think about all the big shortstops that have signed. Again, I like comparing it to the quarterback position. Sometimes you got to let these guys walk. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to get to Scott and Mitch when we come back. We'll also talk a little NFL draft and get you ready for Eddie Brown coming up at 12:35 as we lead you to Gwynn and Chris. Padres off day today. Braden Surprenant Show, saying his own sports station 97 through the Fan. Need a contestant in the next segment for our midday sports standoff. Try to take me down in some sports trivia. Frank has put together obviously probably a very difficult question. Who knows? Where are we at, Frank? What do we got today? What's the level of difficulty?
If I'm being honest, it's very, very difficult because I've forgotten to do it. So,
oh my God!
I'll think
Gotta
of
get on
something.
it
Right now. It's a difficult topic because I don't know it yet. So,
833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Got to get you in to try to take me down in some sports trivia, and you'll have an opportunity to win a chance to go to Vegas. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Eddie Brown will join us in the next segment as well. We'll recap the first round of the NFL draft. I do want to get back to your phone calls, though. Scott in Rancho Bernardo, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, Scott?
How are we doing?
I'm doing well.
Talking about Bogart's talking about like the sun rising tomorrow. It's going to happen. We're stuck with him. You know, we beat our head against the wall, but that contract ain't going anywhere. What really concerns me is Cease. You know, we were counting him being a rock as a starter, and I got to tell you, I'm concerned. I don't think he's been the Cease that we expected. What do you think?
With Dylan Cease, traditionally he's a streaky pitcher. He's just always been a streaky pitcher. He's going to go through long-time streaks of being really good. He's going to go through long spurts where he's not very good. He's got good swing and miss stuff, but you know, in terms of that dominant ace, I don't know if he's been that per se, but I think he's going to be fine. I'm not really worried about Dylan Cease. His swing and miss stuff is still very high. Strikeout rate is still very high. If Eno Saris is not concerned about Dylan Cease, I'm not concerned about Dylan Cease. I think he's going to be just fine. And there's a couple times last year that you saw these same spurts. Kevin Acee had it in one of his articles not too long ago. You know, kind of the up and down of Dylan Cease. So once he hits that hot streak, he'll be unhittable and he'll go through another down spurt where he's not going to be that great. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on, man?
Well, how you doing, Brandon?
Doing
Percolating
well.
over here. I'll give you a little two sports. First of all, signed Bogarts before letting go Soto, right? So we're not keeping Soto. We signed a guy that's 30 years old for 10, 11 years, and apparently he's no LeBron James. And you saw how he played yesterday. And this thing with Sanders.
This call is no longer being recorded.
Mitch. Unreal.
That was from his end. I was not recording.
Not
the call.
recording. Well, when you call in, you are letting us use you for promos and all this other stuff too. So it's a little disclaimer when you call into the show. But he's talking about the move that was interesting. Again, I think Padres fans will always go back to this, was the fact that the Padres signed Xander Bogaerts when they had Juan Soto on the team. They knew that they had to re-sign Soto. And who knows if he would have been on the team if Peter was still around or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of what if questions. But he's not. He's with the Mets. I don't like the contract he signed with the Mets. I mean, if the Padres had to do that to keep him, that would have been rough. That would have been rough. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I want to talk about the draft a little bit. And, you know, the whole Shedeur Sanders thing. I think, and Chris Ella pointed out on draft night, that he definitely is probably going to benefit a lot from this humbling, if you will, of falling to the 5th round. And again, people were just like up in arms about him not going, and it was like collusion and all this other stuff. I mean, give me a break. Shedeur Sanders has a lot of good tools to be a good quarterback in the National Football League. He does. But his talent does not outweigh the circus that follows him with his dad with the whole, I mean, the way he conducted himself with not taking interviews with teams outside of the top 5, not performing, not going to the combine, not doing a pro day. I mean, there's so many things with Shedeur that he did wrong during this process that set him up to be drafted in the 5th round. And even when he got drafted, it didn't even look like the Browns personnel was that excited to have him a part of the organization because they picked Dylan Gabriel before him, which is utterly ridiculous, by the way. Dylan Gabriel is not better than Shedeur Sanders. But now, after the conversation, and we got Clay calling in, and Clay's a big Browns fan. I'd like to hear his take on this. I thought the Browns were playing the draft extremely well until they went Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, and I was immediately going like, what are they doing? To trade down and get the player that they got from Michigan, defensive tackle, who's probably going to be the best defensive tackle, one of the best in the league when it's all said and done. And then you got an extra pick. Now you have 2 first-round picks in 2026 in a better quarterback class. And then in one of those extra picks that you got later in the draft, you wasted it on Dylan Gabriel before drafting Shedeur Sanders, which looked like nobody in that room had any interest in drafting Shedeur Sanders, which has led to the conspiracy. I don't know if Scraby's going to talk about it on the Matt Scraby show with his conspiracies, that the owner got involved and wanted to sign or draft Shedeur Sanders. That's a conspiracy. I don't know if that's real or not. In fact, I don't think it's real, but it looked a little suspect. Looked a little suspect. But the thing for Shedeur now is he's in a great situation. He gets to play for a great coach. Kevin Stefanski's a great coach. He's got a quarterback room that's not great. Deshaun Watson's out for the year. Dylan Gabriel is not better than Shedeur. Kenny Pickett is not great either. And Joe Flacco is expected to start the year, and he won't be finishing it. I'd be shocked if Joe Flacco was starting games for the Cleveland Browns in November in the fall. I would be shocked. So the only thing for him, for Shedeur, gets a little bit of humble pie. He doesn't make as much money, but he already made a ton in college with NIL. He's going to outplay Dylan Gabriel. He's going to outplay Kenny Pickett. He's going to outplay Joe Flacco. And after about week 5 or 6, he's going to get an opportunity to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. That's why he was still ecstatic when he got drafted. I thought, and I'm not a huge Shedeur Sanders fan. I think Dion, I agree with some of the writers in Denver that have called him the world's largest helicopter parent because that's exactly what he is. And I think the circus of like retiring his number and all this stuff was just such a fraud. It was so ridiculous. But that being said, I thought the way Shedeur handled the whole weekend, him and his brother, they're doing the live stream. I think they're kind of likable guys on their live stream. I think they were able to handle, I thought they handled that situation well. I thought they handled the entire prank calling thing well. But now he's in a great spot. The thing that I find interesting now is you look at some of the other quarterbacks that were taken. You look at a lot of the players that were taken in the NFL draft that are now making less money than they were doing in college. I can't remember. Was Quinn Ewers drafted or was he a free agent? I think he was drafted like late round. Quinn Ewers turned down $8 million to play for the University of Texas again for $800,000. Yeah, he was drafted. $800,000. That guy's taking a major pay cut to go play in the National Football League. You look at DJ Ungalele, a kid from St. John Bosco, went to Clemson. He bounced all over the place. He won that great in college. He gets an opportunity with the Chargers. His signing bonus is $3,000. I don't know what the money is at San Diego State for their football team. I bet you they're probably making better than $3,000. Now, that's not his salary, but that's his signing bonus. How many of these guys are going to continue to stay in college in the future? I mean, $8 million to play for the Texas Longhorns or $800,000 to back up in Miami. I mean, why not take the $8 million and play another year? There's going to be a lot of teams or a lot of players that start doing that. You know, before it was interesting. You used to see like these guys signing for life-changing money and everything like that. Now it's like, oh yeah, this is the same stuff that we've always had. So at what point, when you start to see these figures that players are getting in the National Football League that are less than what they were getting in college, and they're not going to play as much in the NFL as they did in college, when do they start making the complaints that you can't prevent me from making money in college for as long as I can make money in college? When does that start happening? It's only a matter of time before, and you're already starting to see it with some players saying like, well, junior college shouldn't count. But how can you, with antitrust laws, say that these players only have a finite amount of time to play in college athletics when there's no collective bargaining? There's no way this is going to hold up in court. There's going to be players like, hey, look, I can make way more money playing in college. Way more money playing in college. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. I do want to take this call before we go to break. Our resident Cleveland Browns fan, Clay, who has now lived in San Diego for a long time, down in the South Bay. What do we got, Clay?
Dang, Braden, I'm going to tell you, the draft was wonderful for my Browns. I mean, they drafted both sides of the ball. Yeah, it was kind of questionable why they drafted. Oh God,
Dylan Gabriel,
the other quarterback. Yeah,
the kid from Oregon.
But you know, I mean, when it's all said and done, I honestly think that the Cleveland Browns definitely will benefit greatly from this draft. I thought they went about it right. Gabriel, I thought maybe they drafted him just in case they needed something. It wasn't to see if Shedeur was going to be around. It was maybe to see how the contract negotiations are going to go, because there's going to be money involved, and and he drafted in the 5th round instead of the 1st round, and blah blah blah. But but overall, I love the draft. I love the fact that they did pick up Sanders. Now all we got to do is see, are we going to break the new toy before we ever get him out of the box? That's my whole concern. And Joe Flacco, I'm sure he'll be fine. I like Joe Flacco. But obviously, like you, I don't believe he'll be around playing games in November unless everybody else is broken. And let's go to the Padres real quick. I'm not jumping off my Padres fan wagon.
I know you wouldn't, Clay. I know you wouldn't.
Yeah, and you know what? Season ain't over. So what? We slide a couple slots. We got guys hurt. We got guys coming back. When we're full lineup again, if we're still sliding, then maybe concern yourselves. But good golly, Miss Molly, we haven't even played 30 games. Well, barely 30 games in the season of 162, and it's going to be the ebb and flow of tides that go along with a full season. So hey, love my Padres, love the show, Braden, and my Browns. Hopefully this year we can turn something around.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Clay. Thank you very much. The Browns had a pretty good draft. The only one that was head-scratching was Dylan Gabriel. I don't know what they were doing. Right there. And then they drafted him before Shedeur. I don't get it. I don't get the move, per se. But I did like what they did with getting the draft picks. I think that's going to set them up well. I think it would have made even more sense if they didn't take a quarterback at all this year, because they could have tanked with Joe Flacco. They have 2 first-round draft picks, one of them being from Jacksonville, who never doesn't draft in the top 10. You're going to have 2 top 10 picks next year and a way better quarterback class. I guess you could still do that if Shedeur doesn't work out. To draft 2 quarterbacks in this year's draft that's not a quarterback draft, when you have 2 first-round picks next year, is the only thing that didn't make sense on the Browns. Eddie Brown gave them a B+ grade. We will find out other grades. We will get the full breakdown, what Eddie saw during the NFL draft. We're going to get to him coming up in the next 5-6 minutes but as we come back from break. But I need to get your phone calls in for our midday sports standoff. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you want to come on the show, try to take me down in some sports trivia, potentially win a trip to Las Vegas. In the 1 o'clock hour, we will be giving away Padres tickets for tomorrow's game, Tony Gwynn bobblehead night. We will talk all about that later on. But coming up next, Eddie Brown, full recap of the NFL draft. This is the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The 12:38 on a Monday. A lot of chaos in Padres world. We're going to try to take a break from that and talk a little bit of the NFL draft here with our fun and always great draft guru and fantasy football expert. We're going to get to Eddie about fantasy football later in the fall when we start getting built up for fantasy football time. But sports reporter for the Shedeur Union-Tribune, specialties of the NFL draft and fantasy football, good friend of ours, Eddie Brown, is on with us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Eddie, hopefully you got some sleep yesterday after recapping the 3 days of the NFL draft. How you doing?
Hey, Braden. I'm starting to get back around 6 hours a night. So I'm working my way back up to normalcy as we get through the grades and then, get cracking on my way too early 2026 mock, and then I can hibernate for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, hibernate for the summer. When do you start pumping out your fantasy football stuff?
That will probably start showing up probably in July somewhere. We'll see. Usually July, because a lot of drafts start happening in August. Although I'm not sure why. I would.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of drafting that early. So, but there are a lot of leagues that do that. So usually try to start, churning it out in probably July, early August.
We're recapping the NFL draft with Eddie Brown, Braden Surprenant on the Braden Surprenant Show. Obviously, the most interesting thing out of the draft, aside from the prank calls that were uncalled for to a couple of personnel, especially Shedeur Sanders, but the Shedeur Sanders situation was very interesting as the draft played out. We talked to you on Thursday during our draft show. It seemed like he could potentially go first round. I think a lot of people had him ranked very high. When he dropped the 5th round, I thought that was very surprising. What can you tell us about the Shedeur Sanders situation and what went wrong for Shedeur?
Yeah, it was kind of a perfect storm, really. I mean, I think during the process, he fluctuated on my big board probably from 25 to 40, and I think that's kind of where he ended up on most draft analysts, top 100s, right before the draft. The thing is he had 4 teams basically going in that were going to target him, that everybody expected to target him, that really needed a quarterback. It was the Browns, the Giants, the Saints, and the Steelers. And they went out of their way, and by they, I mean Sanders and his group went out of their way to kind of hyper-focus on those teams. We heard a lot about the interviews at the Combine and just his overall demeanor and Dion talking about how he wanted to pick, if he had to step in and pull an Arch Manning, he'd step in and make sure that his son was going to the right team, which, is prerogative, and I honestly never had a problem with. But what that did was limit the teams. It was limited his possibilities. And so if you have the Browns and you're deciding, hey, you know what, we're just going to kind of exit stage left on the quarterback class this year. At least that's what we assumed after they traded the number 2 pick and picked up a first rounder for next year. That took one team off. When you had the Giants that favored, Brian Dable favored Jackson Dart over Shedeur, that took another team off. When you had the Saints favored Tyler Shutt over Shedeur, that took another team off. And when you had the Steelers, who are basically obviously planning on bringing Aaron Rodgers in to the fold and going all in on Rodgers and whatever time he has left, that essentially took them out of play too. So it, basically allowed him to fall. Obviously, it was shocking for him to fall out of day 2 and into day 3. I mean, he obviously becomes a great value. The thing I'm concerned with is him ending up with Cleveland, which, they took him. Although if you saw their draft room when they selected him, looked like they were basically being held hostage there. So they took a weird quarterback situation with Deshaun Watson and made it even weirder by drafting Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round and then coming back and taking Sanders in the 5th round. So I'm not even sure how that's going to play out. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
It's going to be interesting to watch. The other thing, too, is when you're talking draft strategy in the Browns, and you mentioned Dylan Gabriel, so I'm going to ask you about that. But they started off so great with Mason Graham as a gem. They got an extra first-round pick next year in a quarterback class that's way better. You would have thought that the Browns were going to play this thing perfectly, and they found a way to brown it up.
that is a really good way to put it, actually. I wasn't mad at them for. I mean, potentially passing on a generational talent in Travis Hunter. Okay, you still end up with a top 5 player in Mason Graham. You get that first round pick. You are in quarterback purgatory. That's a good deal. Pretty much like I said in my grades, I'm a fan of pretty much any player they took last weekend that wasn't a quarterback, in the sense that they all provide value and they're clearly staring towards the future. But after they took Gabriel in the 3rd round, which was, I mean, I love him as a prospect as far as his quick release, the way he commands, the huddle and everything like that. Obviously, he's very small, and so taking him in the 3rd round is a reach. But they said he's going to have an opportunity to challenge, for the starting gig. So by saying after they drafted him on day 2, saying he's going to have a challenge to, or an opportunity to challenge Flacco and Kenny Pickett for the starting gig, and then drafting Sanders in the 5th. Well, that's 4 quarterbacks, and you traded for Pickett. You incentivized Flacco's contract. You said Gabriel, a 3rd rounder, is going to have an opportunity to challenge. And now you have Shedeur Sanders too, who, a lot of people were thinking you might have taken him at number 2 overall. That's creating kind of a muddy water situation there. And so I can't imagine all 4 of those quarterbacks are going to end up on the roster.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought immediately. Somebody that's getting cut. You either have the 3rd round pick getting cut, you have the highly touted and media outlet in Shedeur Sanders getting cut. Joe Flacco is probably going to start for you at the beginning of the year, and then of course you have Kenny Pickett. I mean, one of those guys is an odd man out. It should be. I hope Hard Knocks picks the Cleveland Browns this year, because I think it'd be must-watch television. We spent enough time on the Browns. You put out your grades today. You gave the Ravens, you gave the Patriots, and you gave the Raiders all A-plus drafts in the AFC. Why?
Well, the Ravens, it's because they just do what they do. No, I don't think in a team, maybe outside. I mean, the Eagles are certainly, Howie Roseman is certainly making a mark over the last few years, but I don't think a team allows the draft board to fall to them like the Raiders. I'm a really big fan of the Starks pick. I think that defense was terrible at the beginning of last year. They moved Kyle Hamilton up into the slot and had him play closer to the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden you had essentially a top 10 unit the rest of the way. I think they locked those gains in by drafting Starks and allowing him to patrol center field, and that way Hamilton could kind of just basically take care of the rest. The Eagles, they allowed they allowed Campbell to fall to them. Roseman couldn't help himself. He had to trade up at least one spot with the first pick. But Campbell fell all the way down to him. Every single player in that group, none of them are probably going to start for the Eagles. That's how good that roster is. But every single one of them, if they were on some other roster, would have at least an opportunity to earn a starting gig anywhere else, essentially in the NFL. But I think the 2 teams that really helped themselves the most that needed it were the Patriots and Raiders. I mean, the Patriots, this is how you support a young franchise quarterback. You draft the top tackle in the draft class. You give him a dynamic running back who's a playmaker and the best pass protector at the position in this class. You give them Kyle Williams, who's going to step in and be a starter from day 1 and could essentially be the best receiver on that team with an older Stefon Diggs. And you drafted top center in the class as well. So, that's how you support Drake May. The Raiders, they just got tougher across the board. They got Pete Carroll, the type of players that he won with on a consistent basis in Seattle, and Ashton Genty. Just like I said before, I'm one of the few that had him as the number 1 player on my draft board, because I see him as a generational talent right there with Travis Hunter. I think he gives them an identity from day 1, and I think the Raiders did themselves a service by drafting him.
Final thing for you, Eddie Brown of the Diego Union-Tribune joining us talking NFL drafts, because we got to get to our midday sports standoff. NFC grades were not as great as the AFC grades, according to your grading. You gave a lot of good A's out for the AFC. Lowest of the NFC was the Dallas Cowboys with a C. Where did they go wrong?
I think they get. I mean, as much as I like Tyler Booker, and I think he's going to be great for them. You obviously had a team. I mean, you as Jerry Jones has made it clear, you've made Dak Prescott one of the highest paid players in the game. So you got to give him support. I thought they needed to target. They needed to upgrade their skill position on offense going into this draft, and it's something they needed. They needed a running back. I understand they signed Javonte Williams in free agency, but you needed to add some juice at backfield. You needed another receiver at least to take the pressure off CeeDee Lamb, and they essentially just kind of let that go and focus on other positions. And so I think that's going to be problematic when they when they come into the year and they need to score points, and maybe they're going to have to keep pace with teams like the Commanders and the Eagles. And I'm not sure they're going to be able to.
Eddie, I appreciate the time as always. Look forward to chatting to you later in the year when we start building up for some fantasy football and their weekly fantasy football takes.
I appreciate it, Brady. You take care.
Eddie Brown joining us from the Diego Union-Tribune, breaking down the NFL draft. It is time for a Midday Sports Standoff.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, he's no good. Are you kidding me?
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right. Got Dylan and Escondido trying to play today's competition. Dylan, what's up, man? All right. If Dylan, there you go. I got you. A little soft-spoken there. If you could take me down, Dylan, you have a chance to win a grand prize. 2 tickets to either Disturbed Ghost or Pantera in Las Vegas, plus a 2-night stay at the MGM Grand in Sin City, and a $150 gift card. Get tickets for all 3 shows now at Ticketmaster.com. How this works is Frank's got a question for us that has multiple answers on it. For everyone you get correct, you get a point. For everyone I get correct, I get a point. If any answer repeats, you will get multiple points for setting that particular answer. Whoever's got the most wins the contest. If you are too slow or answer incorrectly, you will get a buzz, which means you got a strike. 3 strikes and you're out. Does that make sense?
Good.
All right, man. Let's see what Frank's got. Here's Frank Marchese.
All right, so because I am a 5-year-old and because we're just going to continue on the trend today, we're going to take a look at how many people have a batting average worse than Xander Bogaerts on the Padres roster right now. So I guess Dylan, you will go first. Who on the Padre roster has a batting average worse than Xander Bogaerts?
Start off with Wade.
With who?
Wade.
Tyler Wade, at least for the moment right now, is batting .290, disregarding at-bats and plate appearances. He has the 3rd best batting average on the team. Braden.
I would go with Tirso Ornelas.
Yes, that would be correct. Tirso Ornelas is batting .071. Dylan.
Maldonado.
Martin Maldonado is correct. Martin Maldonado batting .209. Braden.
Elias Diaz.
Elias Diaz is correct. Diaz batting .167. Dylan.
Let's go with Manny.
Strike 2, unfortunately. Manny, 7th best batting average on the team, batting .272. Braden.
Worse batting average than Xander. Who am I thinking of here? What about Connor Joe? He hasn't gotten a hit yet.
Yep, Connor Joe, correct, has not gotten a hit yet. Dylan.
Go with Oscar Gonzalez.
Oh, no.
That is strike 3. Oscar Gonzalez is batting .256. He is the batting average above Xander Bogaerts.
Just above Xander. All right. if I had to guess again, you already won. Probably go with guys like Yuli Gurriel.
Yes.
Easy one. All right, I just pulled up the list here. Players with the worst batting average on the season: Martin Maldonado, Brendan Lockridge, Jason Hayward, Elias Diaz, Yuli Gurriel, Tirso Ornelas, Connor Joe, Mason McCoy. Mason McCoy and Connor Joe have yet to get a hit. Although 10 plate appearances for Connor Joe,
Yes.
5
Some
for
of them
Mason
were
McCoy.
some of them were a little bit off because of the plate appearances and coming up late, but yes, those are the numbers.
All right. It's not very good right now in terms of overall production out of the Padres. But again, we have as kindly put by Stephen Pelley, a lot of minor leaguers on this roster right now for the San Diego Padres. I like here it is. Please, Xander, get hot so we can stop this talk. I agree. Go Aztecs on Twitch. Shout out to my lone Twitch watcher. Actually, yeah, he is. He is a loyal Go Aztecs on Twitch is the loyal Twitch watcher for us on the Braden Surprenant show. We really appreciate it. I'd like to talk about your Aztecs football team in the fall, so hopefully we can keep it going. Yeah, me and the bots. Yeah, exactly. You get inundated with all the bots telling you to go to different streams. We appreciate your loyal listening. We'll talk more about San Diego Padres and where everything's at. Kind of get you a little preview of the San Francisco Giants rolling into town. All coming up in the next hour. If you want to join the show, 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant show rolls on. One more hour leading up to Gwen and Chris on San Diego's number sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's Ben and Woods getting up early in the morning.
Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I'm going to get your phone calls today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The thing about baseball, which makes the conversation so interesting, is there are so many statistics now in Major League Baseball, and just in general, that you can always handpick stuff for your narratives. In terms of like what you want to prove and what you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many different things that you can pretend that is more valuable than others. Like, a lot of people, when it comes to Xander Bogaerts, more value RBIs more than anything else. Well, he had a lot of RBIs in Boston. Yeah, he did. He's not driving as many runs in San Diego. Now, a couple of factors that you can poke a hole in, and you can poke a hole in every stat. And people have been doing that, to help prove their point or to maybe poke holes in another person's point. But when you talk about RBI, that's the biggest thing that I see all the time is RBIs for Xander Bogaerts. Here's something to be reminded of. He doesn't have any control over who's on base when he comes to bat. Zero control. It's one of those statistics that in the past probably was a lot more valued than currently. He has no control who's on base. On top of that, who usually bats in front of Xander? Manny Machado? Fernando Tatis Jr.? I mean, for more times this year, because Fernando has hit a lot of solo home runs, you got Fernando hitting home runs in the leadoff spot. You have Manny Machado driving runs in front of Bogaerts. I mean, a handful of times, doesn't even have guys on base. Now, that being said, so if you say RBIs, I'm gonna dismiss your comments. If you want to say runners in scoring position and runners in scoring position high leverage, I will listen to that because he's not great at that. But if you're just gonna say like RBIs, that's like complaining that Dylan Cease doesn't have a good record. Well, his record's bad. I don't even know what his record is. I'm just using it as an example. But like a pitching record's the same thing. He has no control over a lot of factors that are determined in a win-loss record for a pitcher. I used to have this argument with people all the time. I think a lot of people understand that now. But if a guy goes out there and shoves, and even if he throws a shutout, if the bullpen gives it up, he might not get a loss, but he ain't getting a win. He could go out there and give up one run and still get the loss. And now it's like, is that Michael King's fault? So there are a lot of arbitrary stats in Major League Baseball. You have to kind of look at the general picture and look at everything and kind of make your own assessments with, well, he does this well, he doesn't do that well, he should improve this, he probably needs to be okay. But again, I'm not saying he's the greatest player ever. I'm not saying he's an all-star level player. I'm not saying he's the best player on the Padres. He's not any of those things. All I'm saying is he's given you pretty much what you signed up for. And right now in the slump, and right now in this early part, it's a little bit less than what you were expecting him to do. Look at his average numbers in Boston. They are what they are. Maybe signing a 30-year-old to an 11-year deal is not a great idea. We talked about it in the last hour, like all the shortstops that have been picked up at age 30. It's not great. But what do you do? Because everybody goes like, oh, you're defending him, you're defending him, you're defending him. I'm just saying, like, I'm just pointing out simple facts of what he is. Again, as Paul said, I'm not acting like that. I said, if you want to bring up the fact that his average of runners in scoring position is terrible, do that. But don't tell me his RBI numbers are low. It's going to fall on deaf ears. But again, what's your answer? Who plays shortstop for you? Scott Mendenhall in the chat. Who's playing shortstop for the Padres? Paul in the chat. Who's playing shortstop for the Padres? I'd love to know answers. I had people earlier saying, like, we shouldn't be batting cleanup right now. Who's batting cleanup? Give me some answers. I'd love to know. Give me a shortstop. He's under contract. I mean, you can't get rid of the guy. You can pay $25 million for him to go away. But again, until you start giving me some answers that make sense, I'm just going to be like, he is what he is. You sign the contract, he's not leaving. Go through all the shortstops in Major League Baseball and start telling me who's better, and then start telling me if you can obtain them or not. He's okay as of right now. And he needs to play a lot better than what he's doing. But at the same time, he's not the reason why they have got swept this weekend. It's never just one individual. It's usually a group. And if you look at the group of the Padres right now, they haven't been hitting well because they're missing 3 of their core players out of the 6. You do that to any other team, and they're probably doing the exact same thing. But until you start sending out solutions to the problem, all you're doing is bitching about something that you really don't need to bitch about. It is what it is. Like the same thing with Eric Hosmer. Now, the difference is with Eric Hosmer is he did slowly start to just not participate on a lot of different things. As Ryan, who called in, said, Xander at least isn't doing that. He gives you a hard 90. I mean, he's putting in what he can. He's in a little bit of a slump right now. I mentioned it last year. He hit 300 after coming off of injury. People seem to forget that part. His first year with the Padres, he hit 280 and had a 4.4 WAR, which is the top 5 WAR in Major League Baseball. People forget about that too. The contract is not great, but until you start finding solutions to get another shortstop, what are we complaining about here? It's to a point where people are tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it. I am, but everybody wants to keep talking about it, so we talk about what you want to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of other things I could be talking about in the sports world. We could talk about the NBA playoffs. We could talk about the NFL draft some more. I get you the breakdown on some early college football looks before they start the season. I mean, there's other things I could talk about. People want to talk about this. I mentioned it earlier. If you took Friday's game and you took Xander out of the lineup because everybody blamed him for the loss, and you know what? He was bad defensively. Cost them the error. They ended up coming around to score. Didn't produce with runners in scoring position a couple times. But if you take him off the roster or out of the lineup on Friday, did the Padres win on Friday? The answer is no. It's no. Because he didn't score any runs. Guy goes, he sucks. Stop making excuses for him. He doesn't suck. He's an average shortstop right now in Major League Baseball. If you pull up the statistics, there are 15 shortstops worse than Xander Bogaerts. So he doesn't suck. He's not playing well right now, but he doesn't suck. Jake Waters pointed out, Hosmer refused to adopt of work. It's true. He got worse because he didn't want to put in the time and the effort. Xander's a little bit different. Play Iglesias for him a bit once we can. Then who plays second? Cronenworth, I mean, are you talking about like when Cronenworth comes back?
Yeah, I think that's what he was talking about.
So you got Cronenworth at second, Arraez at first, and see Iglesias play every single day? Sure, it's not a bad idea. See what happens? I had so many people say the Padres should cut Jose Iglesias over the weekend. It's just never good enough for these people. But anyway, they have to just try to tread water for the next couple of days until they get more players back. And Arraez is coming back, hopefully before tomorrow's game. They should be expecting Jason Hayward back relatively soon. And whether or not we're at with Jackson Merrill's hamstring, we'll see if he's back before the Yankees series. Again, no timetable for him. But again, the guy's track record says he could do it. I think the preconceived notion is when you signed this guy was he's going to be aging. They don't want it to happen, and now they're speaking it into existence. But as Juan Reese says in the chat, Jose Iglesias is great, but there's a reason he's not an everyday player. And I think you're starting to see that with a lot of other players on this Padres team. I have the splits. We talked about it since I might have changed them up a little bit. But the Padres, since Arraez got hurt, your best average is Fernando hitting 333. Your second best is Oscar Gonzalez hitting 238. Tyler Wade, your third best batting average, hitting 222. And then it's Xander batting fourth, hitting 208 during this stretch. It's a collective effort. These guys are not getting the job done collectively, not individually. You look at the on-base percentages. Tyler Wade, number 1, Tatis 2, Iglesias 3, Xander 4. You look at the overall averages, again, as I mentioned before, not a lot of great production out of everybody on the team. I mean, the fact that you're hitting 204 collectively since Arraez went down is Says more about the Padres than it does about one individual. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Again, all the negativities in the chat, all the glazing seems to be on the phone calls. Let's see if Jason in Encinitas keeps that going. Jason, what's going on, man?
Hey, Braden, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to
call.
I'm trying to flip the topic.
Let's pile on the Xander take here. I think I understand your point. I think it's very well taken about AJ, being the one that stroked the check and signed that contract, and the fault should lay there. And that's a point well taken. But I think from a fan's perspective, the frustration, the link that I want to make is that these big value contracts, Manny, Toddy, the others, it's a high beta strategy that AJ's deployed here. And when you get injuries like have happened now, the obviously the lack of depth is just completely exposed. And when Toddy's earning his money, people feel like, right or wrong, that Manny's gonna make his money, and so that's why there's so much frustration with Xander. And when you have 5 or 6 guys in the team, every time the games you've seen of late, it feels like it's 9. The other guys send 9 guys to bat. We send the equivalent of 6 guys to bat because 3 of them couldn't hit a ball if it was put on the tee. And that's the frustration where people feel the lack of depth within the club because of a contract where a guy through 30 ball games has no home runs and 5 RBIs and drops pop flies. You got to kind of feel from the fans' perspective too, that little bit of frustration. When I don't do my job, people don't go to my boss and say, "Hey, he's not doing his job." They come to me and say, "Hey, it's your fault. It's not my boss's fault."
Well, the other thing too is I think people have put some unrealistic expectation based on money value. Now, right now, Xander's not playing up to sane levels of expectations. But again, the no home runs thing, like it's hard for me to be super in on the home runs deal when he was never really a home run hitter. He averages 15 a year. 15 over 162 games. The fact that he doesn't have one right now is not overly surprising. One year he had 33 home runs. It was the best year of his career, and you can't expect best year career numbers. So if he hits 15 home runs at the end of the year, he's getting the job done. That's what you paid for. I think you can make the argument about RBIs being low to an extent. I still think that stat is utterly something that's not, doesn't tell the whole picture. You can make the argument about runners in scoring position. 100%. He has not done well with hitting with runners in scoring position in his Padres career. Neither has Manny. Manny's had better success than Xander, but still, those are numbers that you would expect guys that are making a lot of money to participate in. The pop-up of the infield that was dropped, the miscommunication with Jose Iglesias, not great. But you can't look at the small sample size of the last couple of weeks and go well, he's not performing when everybody on the team's not performing. Is that's where you gotta understand the complexity of everything that goes about with building a roster. Again, look, I know he's got to step it up. I know he's got to play better, and I've said he's got to play better. Same with Manny. Fernando's doing his thing. Fernando's also 26 years old in the prime of his career. Handing out contracts to 30-year-olds is insane. But it is what it is. You would expect at the end of the year for Xander to hit about 270, have about a 3 WAR, maybe a little bit higher than that. He had a 4.4 WAR in his first year, 30 doubles, decent amount of RBIs, and 15 home runs. And if he doesn't have it at the end of the year, then he didn't perform to his level. But it's April 28th, and it's still a relatively early sample size, especially if you go, well, Manny's going to turn it around, but we have no faith in Xander turning it around when he's putting up the same numbers right now. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. I just feel like people think that Xander needs to hit 30 home runs. Somebody angrily DM'd me, said, nobody's saying that. Well, I've gotten that at least 5 times on phone calls. It's he's not hitting home runs. He's only going to hit 15 this year, and that'll be on average for what he does in Major League Baseball. So if you're complaining about a guy that hits 15 home runs, not hitting a home run yet, just because a guy that never hits home runs has gotten off to a good start in Arraez, who has more home runs than Manny, by the way, I find it interesting. He's only got 2 more home runs. Manny's only got 2 more home runs than Xander. He has a collective effort. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. You got to take a break. Wayne, John, we're going to get to you when we come back, continue the Padres conversation. Hopefully it's about something other than Xander Bogaerts, but seems to be the topic of discussion these days for the Padres. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant Show rolls on. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 121 on a Monday. Padres get swept over the weekends to the Tampa Bay Rays. Did not hit very well throughout the entire order. They're just trying to tread water to get to a point where they can get some of these guys back. The good news on the horizon is hopefully Luis Arraez is back for the series against the Giants. And you should be able to have some decent pitching against San Francisco. It should be Pivetta coming up tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think they're going back to King on Wednesday, just because again they had the off day. That's why they sent down Kyle Hart. So Logan Webb and Nick Pivetta tomorrow at 6:40. Wednesday a 1:10 start. Landon Rupp and Michael King. I will be broadcasting from the loft on Wednesday before Sam Levitt. So come by and say hi. We appreciate you guys being part of our show. I think a lot of people are done. I'm tired of talking about Xander Bogaerts. Been talking about it all day. It's what everybody wants to talk about for some reason. It is what it is. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We are going to give you a preview of the Padres and the Giants series when we come back. Also, pay attention because at the end of this segment, I'm going to ask a trivia question that involves the San Diego Padres. And if you get said trivia question correct, you will win tickets to tomorrow's Padres game against the Giants. That is Tony Gwynn rookie bobblehead night. If you call in and answer the trivia question at the end of this segment. Got about 5 minutes left in the segment, so you got to hang in there. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. You can have an opportunity to win Padres tickets to the game against the Giants tomorrow. First 40,000 fans will receive a free Tony Gwynn rookie bobblehead. Get tickets at padres.com/tickets. Want to get back to the phones. Wayne in San Diego, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. Wayne, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing, man? By the way, I got to tell you that I agree with you more than anyone else on this radio station, which is saying a whole lot. But I totally agree with you that we can't panic. This is ridiculous. We've lost 4 games in a row. Half the team is hurt. No big deal. Everything's going to be fine. Take the panic button off. But number one, Xander is serviceable. He's not playing well. He'll play better. We're going to have him at shortstop for the next 1 to 2 years. We're going to have DeVries coming up under club control. Xander will go to first base because Arraez won't be around because we're not going to re-sign him because of the fact he's probably too much money. And, that's going to take care of itself. But number 3, Manny, he is the most consistent player on our team and has been on his baseball card. He pretty much hits 275, 285, 90 to 100 RBIs, 30 home runs a year. Great defense. He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame for the Padres. 500 home runs, 2,500 hits. He's already got over 1,000 RBIs. So I think we need to relax a little bit. He always comes through. And I really believe that Manny is one of the most loved players on the team. And, it goes without saying that obviously Xander and not Xander, but Tatis and Merrill are going to be on this team forever. And they're going to be fantastic. This team's in good shape, especially with 2 guys coming up like DeVries and Salas. People need to stop panicking. I'm excited about the Padres for the next several years.
And you should be. You should be excited. With some of these guys coming up, and I appreciate the phone call, Wayne. I mean, then it's going to play itself out. Again, that's why I'm not freaking out about the Xander thing. Because when DeVries comes up, he fixes your shortstop problem. You're going to move Xander over to first base. You're going to be paying DeVries league minimum, but he'll be playing at a level that's probably worth $25 million plus. And so it's going to balance itself out. That's how this works on the roster construction. People always think if you sign a $25 million a year guy, he has to play to that level the whole time. That's not what you're expecting him. You're getting good. You're trying to find good players out there. And the guys that are younger, that play for cheaper, usually play above their contract to compensate for the guys that are going to play under their contract. I've already mentioned signing 30-year-olds to long-term deals is not an intelligent move. And a lot of organizations don't do that, and the ones that have done that are starting to not do that anymore. If you're going to extend somebody, you do it when they're young, like the Padres did with Jackson Merrill. So you can bitch, moan, and complain all you want about a certain somebody playing shortstop and everything like that, but it's going to solve it's going to solve itself. The biggest problem right now for the Padres is they're banged up. And that has been the biggest problem for the Padres all season. You take three of the best players of any core group of guys in Major League Baseball, they're going to be playing the same way the Padres are playing right now. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Derek in La Mesa, my favorite Oregon Duck. What's going on?
Peace, sir. Hey, brother. Hey, real quick, man. Kudos. I haven't had a chance to call in, but congratulations, bro. You know, to go from an EP to getting your own show and then basically asking you to do 4 hours on your own, that's not easy, brother. So good for you, man.
I appreciate that, Derek. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. You're doing a great job. Love the show. Hey, on the Sanders thing. I mean, come on, Browns. Like, these cats are hammerheads, bro. What do they have? 5 quarterbacks now? But I will say, as your resident Oregon Duck homer, like, I got to be honest with you, I really don't think Sanders is going to be that good in the NFL. And I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but his skills as a pocket passer, like, he's going to be he'll be a backup. But really, Dylan Gabriel in front of Sanders as your Duck homer, I'm like, come on, guy, are you serious? And now they've got 5 quarterbacks. The Browns just continue to be one of the most moronic sports organizations of all time. No?
It's just, especially with their quarterback decision making. And Derek, I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the phone call, man. I mean, you look at Cleveland right now, and again, and Derek is the biggest Oregon Ducks homer I have ever met in my entire life. And he's just laughing at them grabbing Dylan Gabriel and then grabbing Shedeur Sanders. You know, like 5 guys in the quarterback room. Somebody's getting cut. Deshaun Watson's on the injured reserve for the entire year. Joe Flacco's going to start the season. So it's either Pickett, Gabriel, or Shedeur. And if you cut one of the draft picks, I mean, what a waste of a draft pick. Dylan Gabriel's a 3rd-round draft pick. Shedeur's a 5th-round draft pick. God, I hope they get Hard Knocks. I mean, just what a circus that's going to be. And they probably won't because they just had the in-season Hard Knocks. But the Browns, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, you're ready to say something there, Frank. You ready to go?
Aren't there rules for Hard Knocks? Like, if you have a new coach, you're ineligible. First-year quarterback, you're ineligible. Like, I don't know if thought there were. I thought it was with a rookie quarterback.
It's new coach. It's playoffs. If you made the playoffs in the last couple of years, and I think it's like if you've been on Hard Knocks in the last like 5 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I can look up Hard Knocks rules because they have some rules in place that give you an automatic opt-out. Now, that being said, you could still opt in. Now, playoff teams are eligible, and each of the 8 NFL divisions will be featured on the show on a rotating basis with the teams in that division participating in in-screen version, while teams in training camp version are excluded. Oh, so if you're in season, you have to do it. If it's during the off-season one, you can opt out about a lot of different things. I think they should opt into it. You might as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing right now, it's saying that as of 2025, April 2025, they're primarily focused on teams that haven't been featured recently and aren't starting a new coaching era.
All right. Well, does the in-season count? Because they were the in-season with the rest of the NFC or AFC North. It's not a new coach. Come on, Browns. We want to see it. Must-watch television. Can you imagine, like, just the Shedeur part? And Deion's coaching at Colorado Boulder and making appearances on Hard Knocks? Or are they going to do, they do a lot of the Hall of Fame teams sometimes, which is the Lions and the Chargers this year. They're the Hall of Fame game, but the Lions were in the playoffs. They just had the Chargers not too long ago with Anthony Lynn.
I think that's what leads to the conspiracy, though, that Shedeur was told, or that the Browns were told by the owner to pick Shedeur, because why would you draft a quarterback that is less than Shedeur and then just go end up drafting Shedeur anyway?
I don't get it.
So that would lend credence to said conspiracy theory that was the case.
Insane on the on the front of the video of the of the draft room, and nobody was happy about drafting Shedeur Sanders. I mean, nobody was happy. Not a single soul was happy in that room. They were all just kind of awkwardly like, oh, yeah. Golf clap. That was telling. The general manager looked pissed off. He looked so upset. Stefanski doing his like kind of, yeah, excited. Why are we drafted a quarterback after we just drafted a quarterback? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. There's so much Xander bashing. Hey, cut him, dude. I don't care. Cut him. See what happens. See what happens when he goes on a different team and is making league minimum, and you're paying him $25 million a year for the next 8 years or whatever it is. I mean, that's worse than that's just gonna be rough. John in Coronado wants to weigh in. John, what you got?
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for taking my call.
Appreciate that.
But as I was making the drive from Imperial Beach to Coronado right now, maybe I heard wrong, but maybe I heard some blasphemy comparing Machado's run production to Xander's. Were you just talking about these 30 games, or since they've been Padres? Because Manny has driven in 100 runs 3 of the 5 full seasons that he's been a Padre, and in the pandemic season he would have driven in 100 had we played a full 162. So to even mention Manny and Xander in my book is blasphemy. Oh.
Well, what I said was, and you can look up the stats, since the Padres signed Machado in high leverage situations with runners in scoring position, he's hitting under 200. That's what I said. So, I mean, that's not great. High leverage situations, it's a very specific stat, but high leverage situations, late in ball games with runners in scoring position. This is not a bash Manny thing. I just think the expectations for certain players. I mean, it's just you're asking athletes to constantly. I mean, to ask Manny Machado for everything that he's done to be good at like everything he does is utterly ridiculous. There's only so much you can do in a game of failure. But if you look at his overall numbers with runners in scoring position and high leverage in his career, he hasn't hit well. The numbers are what the numbers are. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying that's what his numbers are. And again, like in baseball, you can handpick any stat you want to prove your particular point. That's what makes baseball and really politics very interesting when it comes to statistics. But high leverage situations doesn't get the job done, according to the numbers on Fangraphs. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Padres and Giants is the series coming up tomorrow. It's a 2-game series between the Padres and the rival San Francisco. We'll get you a full breakdown. But first, if you call in and you are the first caller to answer this trivia question, you will win tickets to tomorrow's game. Who is the only other Padre in Padres history besides Tony Gwynn to wear the number 19? There's only one other Padre. What other Padre in the history of the San Diego Padres has worn number 19 that's not named Tony Gwynn? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. First one to call in and tell me the only other player in Padres history to wear number 19, you will win tickets to tomorrow's game. We'll get you your answer when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, saying number one sports station 97 through the Fan. 141 on a Monday. Oh my God, hilarious! Just so many things happening that are so funny in the chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of you guys in the chat have
Oh,
got to
man.
calm it down. Like,
Jeez, it's insanity. I'm dying though. It's so funny. Honestly, it's not a bad idea, Nate. I've had some friends that go like, you should read the worst tweet you've seen all day, and reward them on something. This worst message in the chat all day. There's a lot of bad ones.
yeah, we can't read any of them though.
That's
the thing.
right. The random conversations you guys have in the chat, just hilarious. Totally hilarious. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. It's really remarkable, some of these things in here. But as I mentioned before, it's just like the level of hatred for a player on their team is just so funny to me. He's got to play better. I mean, but like, so funny. That was the Sushi Sam idea. I do think it's an interesting question. Go Aztecs in the chat. Again, good job trying to flip the subject. Speaking of numbers, thoughts on Warren Moon unretiring his number for Cam Ward, and Ward saying he didn't know much about him and had to watch YouTube. The disrespect. What year is Cam Ward born? Cam Ward was born, it had to be like, the earliest is like 99, right?
I'm not sure, but I do know that we are officially old because the last person
I saw that
ever be drafted, born in the 1900s, was drafted this year.
Yep. Saw that. Cam Ward was born in 2002. Cam Ward probably didn't even watch, think about it, like Reggie Bush highlights. I mentioned like Reggie Bush now to like kids I coach. They look at me like I'm nuts. Who is that? In fact, 2 football seasons ago, I was coaching, and some kid made an interception like this, for those on YouTube, diving back like Antonio Cromartie. I was like Antonio Cromartie. Kid was like, who is that? I was like, oh, man. Man. Insane. So, I'm not surprised he didn't know much about Warren Moon. I know Warren Moon is a really good football player from the sake of when I was like in high school and a little bit younger than high school. Every summer, I used to watch just NFL Network on all day long when I was a Chargers fan. They'd do like the top 10s and like Warren Moon would pop up every once in a while. And you see some highlights about Warren Moon. And they got his number. They got his jersey. I think it's a Seahawks jersey at Philippi's in Scripps Ranch. Like that's hanging up. Like aside from that, and knowing about Warren Moon, I can't tell you I've watched a lot of highlights about Warren Moon. So I'm not overly surprised that Cam Ward had to look him up.
But you at least know the name, though.
Right. I mean, if you're going to an organization I guess he played in Houston, but if you're going to an organization that is the Tennessee Titans, you should probably know a little bit about the history of the team as you're like, he had well within 24 hours.
Forget about knowing the history of the team.
A little bit of the good players.
Learn the history of the sport.
These guys don't watch. They don't watch the sport. They don't watch the sport. I have to make the kids I coach watch sport. Watch sports. Watch football. I almost assign it as homework. Watch it. I need you to watch football.
That's a problem.
A lot of these kids that play sports right now don't watch their favorite sport that they play. They don't watch it. I'm not utterly surprised. Now, in terms of unretiring the number, hey, good on Warren Moon, man. If he wanted to just, if he really believed in that. With Cam Ward, letting him do it, that's cool. But I'm not overly surprised that he didn't really know who Warren Moon was. He was born in 2002. When did Warren Moon play? I can't even tell you when he played. I know he played for the Houston Oilers.
Speaking of unretiring numbers, I think Lawrence Taylor didn't know that was an option.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
they asked him, right? Didn't Abdul Carter ask him to wear 56?
I don't think it was hey, can I wear this? It was Abdul Carter made some sort of comment. He's like, hey, are you going to wear number 11? He's like, I don't know. 56 looks pretty good to me. And Lawrence Taylor was like, I don't think he can, because isn't it retired? But like, no, that's my number. Go away.
I don't mind like guys asking. To be honest, like if they asked for it, it'd be kind of cool. Like they wouldn't ask you to wear the number if they didn't think you were a really good player, right? And then you would be honoring the said player by wearing it. But if they didn't wear it, well.
But that also turns back around does Abdul Carter know who Lawrence Taylor is?
I don't know. Bigger question, though. Does Cam Ward know that Xander Bogaerts is overpaid?
Oh, good night.
We have worst comments in the chat award that I think needs to be added to the show. Boogie wins comment of the day. Does Cam Ward know that Xander is overpaid? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm dying, dude. We got two people yelling at each other. The chat's hilarious to me because most of the time people are having side conversations. I told my friends to look at some of the comments in the chat, and they're like, wait a minute. We got one guy talking about Xander and complaining about Xander. We have another guy talking Warren Moon. We got another guy having a conversation and yelling at this other guy. So great.
And the best part is when one person sees another conversation that they're not in that he makes a comment on, and now you got one guy in two different conversations trying to keep track of both of those conversations.
See, go Aztecs. You can't go to YouTube to argue the Xander haters because I need you representing us on Twitch. You're our lone Twitch representative. You're our lone Twitch representative. You can't dump us, buddy. I'm not answering the 100 gorillas or one human or 100 humans and one gorilla. I don't even know what that is. I saw that trending on social media last night. Don't need to talk about it. Warren Moon played from 1978 to 2000. Played for the Oilers, the Vikings, the Seahawks, and the Chiefs. For anybody that needed to know that. The retired number things is interesting. We didn't really dive into it that week because the Padres were playing really well. But Colorado retiring Shedeur Sanders' number and Travis Hunter's number. Colorado's athletic director in 2020 said they were about to unretire all of the numbers that were retired. And he had already talked to all the families and they said it was okay. Colorado, guess how many numbers Colorado Boulder football has retired? Guess. Before Shedeur and Travis Hunter.
4. Was that right?
Yeah, 4.
Oh, wow.
Four numbers retired. Who is the latest number retired for Colorado football before Shedeur and Travis Hunter?
The last time the number was used the year it was retired?
The year it was retired.
97.
Not a bad guess. It was actually 2017. It was after the passing of Rashawn Salam.
Not a bad guess. You're only 20 years off.
Not a bad guess. Rashawn Salam got his number 19 retired posthumously after he played from 92-94, won a Heisman Trophy. He had his number retired the year after he passed away.
He played from 92 to 94, and they only retired his number after he died 23 years later.
Yes, and they retired it the year after he died.
That's a D2 move right there.
The other numbers that were retired in 1969. The last year Bobby Anderson played and wore number 11 for Colorado. 1937 for Byron White, who played until 37. And in 1961 with Joe Romig. His number 67 was retired. So they only have had 4 numbers retired in their history. They've won a national championship during that time. None of those players got their number retired. The only one that got it retired was the Heisman Trophy winner a year after he passed away. And then they decided to we're going to retire Shedeur's number and we're going to retire Travis Hunter's number. And in 2020, here we go. This is the best part. Rick George, the athletic director for Colorado, announced plans to reissue uniform numbers 24, 67, and 11 with the support of the noted players or their families, as long as those numbers will include a commemorative patch. Nonetheless, no player has used any of those numbers since the announcement. Uniform number 19, Salam's number, the La Jolla Country Day great, will remain unused for 19 years, after which it may be reissued. 2025 Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter's numbers have been retired. Despite the controversy, they were drafted in the 2025 NFL Draft as the 144th and 2nd pick, respectively. Shedeur's the first player to have numbers retired and drafted in 5th round of the NFL Draft. If you want to retire Travis Hunter's number for winning a Heisman, so be it.
Did you read that exactly how it was written?
That is exactly how it was written.
I love how they put 144th and
2nd.
That's fantastic.
Respectively. Back to back. That's hilarious. So how long does Sanders and Travis Hunter's numbers stay retired before they reissue those numbers? They're reissuing everybody else's numbers. How much longer? So from all of those perspectives, I think it makes the retired numbers even worse for those two. If you want to retire Travis Hunter's number, fine, he won a Heisman. But for two players that went 13 and 12 in their career at Colorado with no bowl wins to speak of, I find it very odd that they decided to retire those numbers before the NFL Draft even happened. They should have retired him in the fall. And at least in the fall, he could have been like, okay, at least some time has passed. Boogie in the chat. When Dion leaves, same with Go Aztecs on Twitter. When Dion leaves, hilarious. This guy's still saying they're overpaying Xander. Sick, dude. There's nothing you can do about it. They're still overpaying him. He's going to continue to get paid. And regardless if he's on the team or not, you're still going to pay him $25 million a year for the next 8 years. You better get used to it. They're not changing that. And nobody's taking the contract. So there's really no reason to complain about it. I think we've talked enough about Xander Bogaerts today. Ad nauseum.
Are you sure? Because we still have another, 35 seconds left.
Yeah, we're close. We're close. San Francisco Giants are in town. You going to the games this week?
I will be at the game tomorrow, and I will actually be here on Wednesday.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Doing the game here.
I will be at the games both tomorrow and Wednesday, both as work, not play. I will be there at the Loft.
I'll save you a seat.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, can we place bets on what year we'll have to eat the X contract? Aren't you eating it now if you don't think he's very good? It's interesting conversation. Bring Frank back. Frank will be back. It's just a matter of time. Frank, appreciate your work as always. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant signing off, leading you up to Gwen and Chris. Full show today on the Matt Scraby Show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Talk to you guys tomorrow.